charges in 3 years this winter as the energy price cap is raised for a second time in just 3 months. Now, this was what the Prime Minister said only last month.
But I can do something to give people some breathing space now, some help with the cost of living.
As the CIA director flies to Moscow for secret talks, Andy Burnham has been warned that Britain faces Russian retaliation over UK support for Ukraine. It's reported security chiefs have told the Prime Minister to be prepared for a direct response from Vladimir Putin.
Birmingham is set to become England's first 20-mile-per-hour city, lowering the speed limits on the majority of its roads. Is this a sensible safety measure or a slow-motion disaster? Should other cities follow suit or absolutely not? Let us know.
Shocking figures show a burglary goes unsolved every 3 minutes in England and Wales, with the police failing to identify a single suspect in more than 7 out of 10 cases.
Jolene, 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 Jolene. Please don't take him just because you can.
What a song. The country music legend Dolly Parton has died at the age of 80, best known for her genre-defining hits, including 9 to 5, I Will Always Love You, and of course Jolene. She passed away after a short battle with cancer.
Well, the summer holidays are almost over, but GBNews' Dougie Beattie is hitting the road for one last great British adventure.
Yes, the last days of our summer break, and it appears the last days of the good weather. It's raining here in Portrush, but I'm starting my journey across the UK to catch up with holiday makers in some less known resorts. We'll have more throughout the programme.
Well, welcome along to the show this afternoon. We've got a lot to talk about. We want to focus on this migrant crime cover-up because it's been going on for so long. The Ministry of Justice is simply refusing to release the data. Indeed, they're going to court to block it.
Yeah, and having previously said that they would make data available about the level of criminality associated with foreign offenders. Now, the reason that this is such a live issue for so many people is that it's not even a weekly occurrence now. It seems that it's every other day we're getting news of yet more really horrific offences that have been linked to illegal immigrants, asylum seekers, refugees, whatever you want to call them. And people want some clarity.
Yeah, and so many times you will find a case and it'll be quite hard sometimes to find out what the actual immigration status of the perpetrator, of the suspect, of the convicted individual is. But we've done some digging and we've found so many, and we can only show you a small snapshot because there are so many of these types of crimes that are being committed in this country. And it's very uncomfortable for some of our politicians to talk about. A lot of people insisting, oh, don't worry, you know, white British men are just as likely to commit these types of sexual assaults, to commit these types of murders or other criminal activity. If that's the case...
That might be true, yeah.
If that's the case, just print the data.
Yeah, show us. Show us if it's true, show us what the data is. And that's the thing, you know, is it being done because they're concerned about what the reaction is going to be amongst the great British population across the country? Well, I think actually there's going to be a more adverse reaction to a feeling that information is being suppressed, that people are not being told the whole truth.
Well, absolutely. Get in touch, gbnews.com/your say. Should the government just release migrant crime data? Let us know. But let's get to the headlines with Sam Francis.
Thank you both, and good afternoon to you just after midday. Well, Dolly Parton has been remembered today as a once-in-a-lifetime star after her death at the age of 80 following what her publicist described as a brief battle with cancer. The country music superstar was, of course, best known for hits including Jolene, 9 to 5 and I Will Always Love You. Tributes have poured in from around the world, with Sir Paul McCartney calling her a magnificent star. Landmarks across America have been lit up in pink in her honour, as fans remembered not just her music, but her philanthropy too, including a children's book programme which donated more than 300 million books. Here, households are facing higher energy bills this winter after Ofgem raised its price cap by 4%, marking a 3-year high. From October, the average bill for an annual bill will rise by £60 to £1,723, just as families start using more heating. Ofgem says high international gas prices are still driving energy costs in the UK. The government, though, says its cut to VAT on electricity has limited the rise, but analysts are already forecasting another increase in the new year. In Pakistan, at least 14 newborn babies have died after a fire broke out in a hospital. Officials say the blaze started in an air conditioning unit in Islamabad before spreading through the hospital's maternity ward. One baby was rescued, where 15 newborns were being cared for at the time. Pakistan's Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif has ordered an immediate inquiry, with a report due within 24 hours. Sainsbury's supermarket is offering 10,000 work experience places as ministers are trying to tackle the youth unemployment crisis. The supermarket says the programme will include workplace visits, careers sessions and practical experience across England, Scotland and Wales. It will focus on communities where young people face the biggest barriers to work. Prime Minister Andy Burnham says opportunity should not depend on who you know or where you live, and is urging more businesses to follow Sainsbury's lead. People with ADHD and autism are being left to fall through the gaps. That's according to a major new review of services across England. The Health Ombudsman says that demand is outstripping capacity, with children and adults facing long waits and fragmented support. Complaints about ADHD and autism services have risen sharply in recent years. The review says too many people feel they have no choice but to pay privately. And after weeks of heat and drought, parts of England and Wales are now being warned to brace for thunderstorms, for hail and possible flooding. Forecasters say some areas could see a month's worth of rain in just a few hours. The Met Office says that there's a small chance too of fast-flowing or deep floodwater, causing a danger to life. Those are the midday headlines. I'll be back with you shortly. Now, though, it's back to Mark and Emily.
Take the GB News family with you on any device. As long as you have an internet connection, tune into GB News anywhere on the planet or beyond.
Well, good afternoon, Britain. It's 8 minutes past 12. Now, the government has been accused today of covering up the true extent of crimes committed by foreign nationals in Britain.
Yes, a group of families of some of the victims of crimes committed by foreign national offenders have written to the Justice Secretary urging him to stop blocking the release of migrant crime data.
Among those who've written the letter is the family of hotel worker Rhiannon White, who was murdered by an asylum seeker in the West Midlands.
Deng Chol Majek from South Sudan stalked and then stabbed Rhiannon to death at a railway station in Walsall in 2024.
Others include the 14-year-old girl who was sexually assaulted by Ethiopian illegal immigrant Hadush Kabatu, who was staying at an asylum seeker hotel in the Essex town of Epping.
And a partner of dog walker Wayne Broadhurst, who was stabbed to death on a residential street in West London.
Afghan national Dawood Safi, who arrived illegally into Britain in the back of a lorry, was convicted of Mr Broadhurst's killing just last month.
Now, they are just some of the victims of crimes committed by migrants in recent years. In the last 12 months alone, there are many other examples, and this list that we're about to give you is by no means an exhaustive list.
This is Sudanese asylum seeker Ibrahim al-Bashir. He's the latest horrific case to emerge. He was convicted yesterday of attacking a lone woman in Leeds, stabbing her and slashing her more than 30 times with a broken bottle, in a case which the judge said was sexually motivated.
Afghan national Abdul Khan was convicted earlier this month for raping a 13-year-old girl in Nottinghamshire after making contact on social media, pretending to be a teenage boy. He'd arrived in the UK in the back of a lorry.
3 asylum seekers were convicted last month of raping a woman on Brighton Beach. The Egyptian national Ibrahim Al-Shafa and Iranian Abdullah Al-Mahdi were given lengthy jail times, while another Karine Al-Danasert, also from Egypt, was convicted for his part in the rape, including filming the woman's horrific ordeal.
Syrian national Mohammed Abdullah, who came to Britain under a family reunion scheme, was convicted of raping a young woman in a toilet on Bournemouth Beach.
Afghan national Ahmad Mulakil was sentenced to 16 years in prison in March for abducting and raping a 12-year-old girl in the Warwickshire town of Nuneaton.
Afghan Abdul Nabizada, a former translator for the British Army, was sentenced to 7 years in prison after attacking a 19-year-old taxi passenger after detaining her against her will.
Now, as we said, this is by no means an exhaustive list. It's just a snapshot of what it seems are a growing number of serious crimes linked to foreign nationals, many of whom arrived illegally into this country.
So, does the public and the victims of these crimes deserve to know the true extent of criminality linked to foreign nationals? And why is the government so determined not to share the information with the wider public?
Well, GBNews chief political correspondent Catherine Forster joins us now in the studio. Some of that content is, of course, distressing, disturbing, deeply worrying that such crimes are being committed. The government has been asked time and time again by different parties to release this type of data. They've so far refused. Indeed, they're trying to block it by going to court over this. The pressure is building now that these victims and their families are writing to the Justice Secretary. Can you bring us up to date on where we stand?
Yes, so this is 11 families of victims have written to Alex Norris, who is the new Justice Secretary, saying people deserve and need this information, and for him to please publish it, because obviously they could do if they wanted to. And this is the latest stage in an ongoing battle, really, for this information. So a think tank called the Centre for Migration Control has been trying to get this information through FOI, Freedom of Information requests, and they've been told, oh, it's too expensive. And what they've asked for is the total number of convictions broken down by nationality and offence for the last 7 years. And what has happened is initially it sounded like the information would be given out. Then the government decided that it would not publish it. The Information Commissioner then got involved and ruled that it should be published. But then David Lammy, while he was still Justice Secretary, we understand, decided that it shouldn't, and the government is taking legal action to make sure that it does not come out. Now, worth saying, the Ministry of Justice has put out some information about the top 10 nationalities of sex offenders in England and Wales in 2024, which was India, Romania, Poland, Pakistan, Afghanistan. That is ordered, though, by the number of offences, not the number of offences per capita, which I think would be very telling. And this is information that we don't have, but we do know that 1 in 7 sexual offences is committed by foreign nationals. The Ministry of Justice has said protecting the public is our priority, and we are committed to supporting victims of all crimes. They've also said that they do not comment on live legal proceedings.
Yeah, I mean, the fact is, it's a very incomplete picture. There's a great deal of concern that it's not just weekly. It seems like every other day now we're reporting on a really horrific crime committed by a foreign national offender. Just days ago, we get the Home Office publishing these pamphlets, or distributing, we think, these pamphlets to those illegal immigrants arriving into the UK, telling them how to behave, how they should respond to women, that sexual relations with someone under the age of 16 is illegal, bizarre. But it just, I think, adds to the impression that, does the government know more than they're saying? Is something coming down the pipeline here? We just don't know. And while that's the case, many people across the country are going to be rightly very, very concerned.
Yes, of course they are. And opposition parties are understandably accusing the government of a cover-up, because if there is nothing to see here, then why not publish the information? Now, of course, people will say that the majority of crime in this country is committed by British citizens, and the majority of sexual crime too. Of course it is, because the majority of people in this country are British citizens. The majority of people in this country are also white. But yet, we do see, as you say, it feels like every day or every other day there is another horrific case, the most recent being, you know, the one that you just showed, the Sudanese asylum seeker who'd been denied asylum in France, mentally ill, this guy. He came to Leeds, he slashed a woman 30 times with a broken bottle, and miraculously she has survived. But of course she will be damaged for the rest of her life.
Yes, and as one of our viewers has pointed out just now, countries like Denmark already do publish foreign crime data, and it has revealed there is a link between some nationalities that have arrived in Denmark and certain crimes.
Thank you very much indeed, our chief political correspondent, Catherine Forster. Now, some breaking news is just coming into us. The former West Midlands Police Chief Constable Craig Guilford, plus 3 other officers and staff members, have been advised that their conduct is being investigated by the Independent Office for Police Conduct. That relates to the Maccabi Tel Aviv supporter ban in Birmingham. A great deal of controversy, you remember, at the time there, where of course, the Israeli supporting fans of Maccabi Tel Aviv were prevented from coming to Birmingham to participate in supporting their match because the West Midlands Chief Constable and staff had said that they had intelligence that there could be violence related to that. Very controversial, as I say. And real concerns, you'll remember, Emily, accusations that West Midlands Police was being basically browbeaten by members of the Muslim community in the West Midlands, and that's why they decided to issue that ban.
So that's very interesting. So the former West Midlands Police Chief and 4 other officers are now facing investigation over that ban. And we'll bring you more details as we get them.
OK, well, continuing now with our discussion about foreign national offenders and the lack of data that's out there, we're joined by the Reform UK Home Affairs spokesman, Zia Yusuf. Good afternoon to you. Thank you very much for speaking to GB News this lunchtime. It does give the impression, whatever the government, whatever lies behind the government decision not to publish these stats, it just does give the impression that they're covering it up.
It is a cover-up, and let's call a spade a spade. Tory and Labour governments now for years have sacrificed their own people, sacrificed their own women and children, their safety, allowed British women and girls to be raped and murdered by men who should never have been allowed into the country at all. They have done this because they worship at the altar of diversity. I mean, it's all very good now, the Tories demanding this data is released. They could have done it at the stroke of a pen. In the 14 years they had power. And, you know, when we're asking ourselves, as you've just asked, well, why on earth would the government, the Tory government and now the Labour government, not want data around migrant crime to be released? Well, of course, we know the answer. It's because the data would be so spectacularly abhorrent so horrific. It would lay bare so unbelievably the betrayal of Tory and Labour governments against their own people. And I use that phrase advisedly. You know, I think they have sacrificed their own people. And look, as you pointed out, not only do we have data from other countries, I mean, countries like just this week, we had data from Switzerland, where we learned that 80% of North African, quote unquote, asylum seekers were involved in criminal proceedings. Not 18, not 8, 80%, 8 out of 10 North African asylum seekers in Switzerland were involved in criminal proceedings. The Swiss reject 99% of North African asylum seekers for that reason. Less than 5% of boat migrants are ever sent back. Then we obviously have other European countries where we have this data too. And I want to make one last point. Not only have the Tories and Labour allowed people to come into this country in the hundreds of thousands, military-age men, where we know that they are orders of magnitude more likely to commit, for example, sex offences. Not only that, but the Tories launched a resettlement programme to import tens of thousands of men from Afghanistan, the nationality that tops the per capita table in terms of propensity to commit sex crimes. They launched a program at the cost of billions of pounds to import such men to the United Kingdom. And then ministers like Ben Wallace went ahead and sought an injunction from a judge to prevent GBNews, to prevent anyone in the British media reporting on it, to stop the British people knowing the truth. This is one of the most catastrophic betrayals imaginable.
Okay.
And this data is going to come out one way or another. Because I'll tell you what, if reforming the next general election, Nigel's the Prime Minister, I'm the Home Secretary, one of the first things I will do is release all of this data so the British people learn the truth.
OK, so some would say to you, Zia, that releasing this data, the reason why you want this data to be released is to stoke division, and that the media only highlights stories where the perpetrator is a foreign national or someone of an ethnic minority or someone who has sought asylum in this country, and that actually this isn't about transparency and safety of women. This is about your harsh attitudes towards people who are coming here.
Well, one of the points that does need to be made, as you just did a moment ago, is that, look, of course, we know British people commit crime. Everybody understands that. But whenever a crime is committed, a rape or a murder of a British person by somebody who is in this country illegally, then it is obvious that that crime is directly downstream from Tory and Labour government's refusal to actually operate a functioning border. And therefore, they should be held accountable, and people will be orders of magnitude more angry than they would otherwise be. I think that's just a very obvious point. And, you know, we get data on all sorts of other things, don't we? I mean, the government doesn't hesitate in providing us with data when it suits them. And I want to make another point here, too. Unbelievably, because the Information Commissioner, to their credit, actually ruled in favour of the party seeking this data and actually said to David Lammy, you've got to release it. Now the British government, Labour, is spending taxpayer money on stopping it being released, which of course makes the claim that releasing this data, which is clearly just there in a spreadsheet, can be done very quickly, is absurd on its face. The British people deserve to know this data. It is not, by the way, for any government minister, Tory or Labour, to finger wag at British people and tell them, you know, you're not entitled to this data. Stop trying to stoke division. If you want to talk about stoking division, here's what stokes division. Dumping 1,200 fighting-age men from countries like Syria and Iraq into a village of 400 people, taking the ratio of men to women to 6 to 1. That's what stokes division. What stokes division, as I said, is launching a multi-billion-pound secret resettlement program, which is what the Tories did, to import men from Afghanistan, which, let me repeat, is the country whose nationality tops the league table in terms of propensity to commit sex offences, and stopping the British public knowing about it. This is what stokes division. And the only way we are going to get healing on these matters for the victims, for their families, and for everybody in this country who cares about this stuff is for a bright, disinfecting sunlight to be shone on all of this. And that's what reform will do. And I hope if Labour had any sense at all, if Andy Burnham had any sense of the anger across this country, he would release that data without delay.
OK, dear Yusuf, thank you very much indeed. Former UK Home Affairs spokesperson there, calling on the government to release this data.
Yes, indeed. Well, the Home Office, or the Ministry of Justice, we should say, have issued a statement denying any form of a cover-up. They say protecting the public is our priority, and we're committed to supporting victims of all crimes, including through our record £550 million funding package for victim support services. We do not comment, they say, on live legal proceedings.
All right, then. Well, moving on. Energy bills are set to rise to a 3-year high this autumn, with Ofgem increasing its price cap by another 4%.
Well, the Prime Minister says the increase will be difficult for households, but insists removing VAT from electricity bills will offer some relief.
It's difficult for people, and I recognise that, but it's why within days of taking office I announced that we would remove VAT off electricity bills to give people that little bit of help. That kicks in from October. We know the price cap will have an impact, but it is what we can do right now, and we'll continue to look as we go forward at how we get energy prices down in the long term, and that's what we need to do too.
But the average annual bill is going to rise by £60 to now £1,723. That's from October, with a further increase forecast for January.
Well, the former Chief Executive of Energy UK, Angela Knight, joins us now. Angela, good afternoon. Always a pleasure to chat to you. Not under these circumstances, of course, of yet more misery being heaped on the great British public. There's no end in sight to this, is there?
Well, there is an end in sight if the government's prepared to do it.
No.
And that's called take a deep breath and rethink this whole strategy, this whole net zero path on which we are treading. Because although this increase today, or announced today, is directly as a result of world gas prices and all the problems in the Gulf and with Iran, which we know of only too well, the reality is if you look at your energy bill, you'll find that an awful lot on that bill is nothing to do with gas or electricity. It's all to do with the add-ons. And those add-ons carry on increasing as we tread this path, as I say, to net zero on a timetable which is far too fast and without having a proper think about the importance of our ability to have our own backup and the importance of having our own oil and gas being drilled here in the UK.
Yeah, Angela, I mean, the Energy Secretary, the new Energy Secretary, Miata Fanbulla, was asked this morning on the radio whether it was the Middle East conflict or actually political choices to pay for things like renewable subsidies. Essentially, the push to net zero was to blame for rising energy bills.
Yeah.
And she said it's both. So she is there admitting that it is the pursuit of net zero and the associated costs that is, at least in part, the reason why we have these bills. Now, we've been told for so many years by politicians who want net zero, who want us to move to green energy, etc., that no, this is going to be fantastic for our bills. We're not going to be reliant on horrible gas and oil and everything else. But it turns out that now our Energy Secretary says, yeah, that's got something to do with it.
Well, it's about time that they did recognise that the programme that they're doing is putting in place all these costs. And, of course, there is much more to come as well, because you can't build wind farms and solar farms all across the country without also investing in the grid. You can't just have renewable energy without putting in place the backup for when the wind doesn't blow and the sun doesn't shine. And, of course, we haven't done that. And although we are building one big nuclear power station and probably another one to come, the reality is that that is where a focus needs to be. That is on some of the small-scale nuclear reactors, if we are to be self-sufficient and if we are to be able to provide not just a self-sufficiency, but particularly electricity at a price that people and industry can afford. Because another thing, and I look forward to our new Energy Secretary admitting this as well, is that we are currently running such high-priced electricity for our industry that we're starting to de-industrialise the country, closing some of the big petrochemical plants, closing oil refineries because they're not competitive, because they're paying the highest price electricity of a developed nation. So the policy is wrong. I can understand the emotion which says, let's reduce our carbon footprint. And I'm no climate denier.
Yeah.
But what I do say is that the reality of how we move forward has got to be one of cost, it's got to be one of price, it's got to be one of economic competitiveness and one of common sense. And hold the programme, think again now.
Well, Angela Knight, thank you very much indeed for injecting some common sense into this discussion, former Chief Executive of Energy UK. Now we have some more breaking news to bring you at home and to Angela. It is being reported now that the Duke and Duchess of Sussex and their children are returning to Britain today.
Yes, it's the news I know you've all been waiting with bated breath for, but we can confirm Prince Harry and Meghan and their two children, well, I say confirm, we believe that they'll be flying into the country privately from California. And of course, when they come in, all of the talk will be back out there again as to where they're going to live, where are the kids going to school, what is the security situation, and will we have to fit the bill?
And most importantly, does Meghan Markle have a new TV series to take part in?
Well, yes, absolutely. Well, one man who has his finger on the pulse and can answer, I'm sure, all of those questions is our royal correspondent, Cameron Walker.
Oh, if only. Yes, indeed. It has been reported. We're just trying to get it confirmed at the moment in GBNews, but we do trust these reports that Harry and Meghan will be flying in via private jet with their two children, Prince Archie and Princess Lilibet, today. We are expecting them to be moving into a property in or around the Cotswolds. Of course, we don't know the exact details and probably wouldn't share exact details of which town they will be staying in. However, of course, this has been a long time coming. We have been reporting over the last week their movements, a reversal of Megxit for various reasons, it would appear, one of which you alluded to in your introduction there, Meghan in talks to join the third season of The Gentleman, which, of course, films in the Cotswolds, so very convenient for her there. And also Netflix in the last 48 hours has confirmed that they are going to be doing a season 3. So that all seems to be adding up, as it were.
The job offer's back on again.
Yeah, well, yeah, there was one report which suggested the talks had ceased, but there seems to be conflicting information on that. And of course, Netflix did, following that report, confirmed season 3 would be taking place. Harry, meanwhile, of course, he's going to be taking part in lots of charity engagements in a couple of weeks' time. The children are going to be enrolled in a local school
what types
next
of charity
week.
engagements?
So we've got Well Child, which is a charity that he's patron of.
Okay.
They do their Well Child Awards mid-September, which looks after seriously sick children within the United Kingdom.
Okay.
And also the Invictus Games. There's several Invictus Games events taking place as well, looking after or supporting sick and injured veterans and serving personnel in a Paralympic-style competition. So it's Harry's bread and butter stuff, really. Meghan, we thought, well, what's she going to do? Obviously, the acting thing's one part of it. We are thinking she may be wanting to expand her As Ever brand to the United Kingdom as well, because it's quite hard to run a company 6,000 miles away. As royal sources have stated, there is absolutely no return to them being working royals whatsoever. They cannot be half in, half out. But to be honest,
this is the thing, all of those activities you mentioned that Prince Harry is going to be doing are all things that he could do as a working royal, aren't they? But Meghan and her pursuits, she definitely could not be doing if she was a working royal, if it's true that she's going to be doing the acting and everything and the business and everything.
Well, exactly. And will Meghan, for example, start doing a bit of charity work as well? We don't know. If, of course, it does all happen, and it is going to all happen, unfortunately, we are going to see a case where we've got the Prince and Princess of Wales doing stuff, the King and Queen doing stuff, and Harry and Meghan on the side. So I think that's going to be tricky for the King and the Prince of Wales in particular to navigate.
Is it possible, and I'm sure you're going to just say, don't be ridiculous, Mark, but is it possible he could return to royal duties, but she could continue with her private pursuits and just not get involved in royal engagements and, you know, potentially still be there, the wife, the support when needed, but he's the one that resumes some royal duties?
I mean, I would say anything's possible. The Duke of Kent, for example, he continued with royal duties while his wife stopped royal duties. Duchess of Kent, of course, died last year. I think the King perhaps could be open to that. Prince William, a different story, I would suggest. And of course, when Megxit happened, Prince William was 2 ranks away from a top job. Now, of course, he is the future king, the next king, and he has far more power and far more sway as to exactly what happens. But I think anyone who claims, as Hannah Furness, the Telegraph Royal Editor, said last week, anyone who claims to know what Prince William is thinking just doesn't really know what they're talking about. He is a pragmatist. He's obviously going to see what's best for the monarchy. And if it gets to a situation where Harry could be a helping hand, I can't imagine he's going to stand in the way. However, there's a lot of private discussions, I would suggest, needs to take place before that happens between Harry and William, and they're not on speaking terms at the moment, so it's a long road ahead of them.
Well, how exciting, Mark.
OK. Well, if you say so.
I know our viewers and listeners are going to be, you know, rolling their eyes and shrugging their shoulders and saying,
remote controls.
Who cares that Harry and Meghan are coming back? But I'm a saddo, and I do find it a tad exciting, you know, the return that they said they'd never make.
It's exciting for Cameron because he's going to be very busy now over the coming hours.
I just like to see how these things play out, you know. There's a lot of big egos.
Yeah, no, it is fascinating. I mean, fascinating, but not exciting.
But perhaps more important is this story. The Prime Minister has been warned that Britain faces Russian retaliation over its continued support for Ukraine in its fight against Kremlin forces.
Yes, security chiefs were told to have been telling Andy Burnham, fresh from a visit to Ukraine, to be prepared for a direct response from Russian President Vladimir Putin.
So is an attack from Russia a realistic possibility? Well, we can speak with former British Army spokesperson Major Mike Shearer. Mike, thank you very much indeed for joining us this afternoon. So how likely is this, and what form could it take?
Well, it could take a whole array of forms. The main headline is that we have precious little defence, security and or national resilience in the United Kingdom. The Prime Minister needs to have an honest conversation with the British public about just how exposed we are. Now, the Russians can get up to all sorts, but look, if he doesn't want to listen to his chiefs, if he doesn't want to listen to defence analysts, I would refer him to Lord Robertson. In May, Lord Robertson, our former Defence Secretary and NATO Secretary General, said, "We are underprepared, we're underinsured, we're under attack, we are not safe." He needs to take notice of this. And remember, Lord Robertson authored the Strategic Defence Review alongside General Richard Barrons, who has echoed these concerns. These are men who have been closely watching for years, as a number of us have, just how exposed we are. And right now, Russia's current strategy is one of plausible deniability. I suspect it will continue to be so until they're ready for kinetic escalation proper. Look, Russia's sub-threshold or grey zone pressure on the UK, that is to say, that which is just below kinetic warfare. You know, the pressure that's on the UK, the Nordic states, the Baltic states and beyond is a constant full spectrum testing of NATO's resilience systems. And while they continue to test them, NATO continues to develop contingencies to detect, deter, respond within that grey zone. But the UK, we must do more now and spend more. The Strategic Defence Review that I mentioned, it will not be fully operational until about 8 or 9 years' time. It's too late. Where is the Defence Investment Plan? Where is it? Our Chancellor John Healey, his October's budget address must address the lack of preparedness and overcome that. He, after all, resigned on the fact that our country was exposed. Yeah. He now, as a Chancellor, and with deep knowledge of defence, must address this issue.
Yeah, no, I think you're absolutely right. There are big questions still to answer in terms of how on earth we're going to fund the equipment programmes that we need to ensure we're able to meet the threat. What fascinates me, I think, about the developments over the last 24 hours is this pretty unprecedented, urgent visit by the director of the CIA to Moscow, and exactly what he might have been saying to the Russian leadership. Do you think, Mike, that it was along the lines of, we know what you're up to, don't?
I suspect that that is true, and I would encourage our own government to speak directly to our greatest ally. And while I consider right now that Pax Americana is no longer there, we still have deep relationships with the United States, and we should hear firsthand about what was said in that meeting. And you know, the United States must be aware, and there are enough people in the United States that are aware, that if we lose Ukraine, if these continued testing of NATO's resilience continues, it's not just NATO Europe that will suffer, it is the free world in general. So I think we need to engage and ask out loud from the United States what has occurred over the last hours.
Indeed. Major Mike Shearer, thanks so much for speaking to us this afternoon.
Yeah, I mean, the rhetoric is escalating, isn't it?
Yeah, listen, I honestly think, you know, I know we get accused of sort of at times talking up the potential threat from Russia, but we've seen just in recent days another drone packed with RDX high explosives at Leipzig airport. Apparently, we're told it may have been targeting Ukrainian cargo planes going in and out of that airport. If we go down that road, it is really, really serious. And I do think that something may be on the horizon, hence the very urgent and pretty unprecedented trip on a C-17 plane by the head of the CIA.
And is
just in recent hours.
Well, yeah, and is Andy Burnham just going to sort of do what he's told? Does he have any original thoughts on this issue? Is he going to follow the script that previous governments have done?
Well, he seems to be following the script, and maybe
word for word.
Maybe Vladimir Putin had thought that he might be less engaged on the international stage. But the truth of it is, government policy, it's been directed from the Foreign Office, and so the script, whoever seems to be in charge, stays the same with regard to Ukraine.
Well, it does seem, though. We are going to get to some of your views on the Great British Migrant Crime Cover-Up very soon. But first, Birmingham is set to become England's first 20-mile-an-hour city, with the limit planned for almost all roads.
Yes, the council says slower speeds will reduce collisions and make walking and cycling safer, while critics have branded the plans anti-motorist.
So should all cities have a 20-mile-an-hour speed limit? We're joined by Jamie Hassell from the Parliamentary Advisory Council for Transport Safety. Jamie, thank you very much for joining us this afternoon. So do you approve of these plans from Birmingham? All roads, basically all roads, apart from some A roads in Birmingham, all 20 miles per hour?
I do. If you've seen what's happened in Wales, we've had about 100 fewer KSIs in the first year when they implemented that. And that was with sort of marginal drops in average speeds. So it will make a huge impact. And there's benefits for motorists. There's reduced insurance costs. And it's sort of healthier for everyone who lives there. So, yeah, I fully support it.
Well, a lot of people would say, Jamie, that it's quite an authoritarian measure. You know, roads are very different. 20 miles per hour might suit a location right outside of a primary school, for example, but not a wider stretch of road, not, you know, in the middle of the night, not when there are barely any cars on the road. It could actually slow down all the traffic and could, in some circumstances, bring about more episodes of road rage, could bring about different types of incidents and accidents.
I think it's got to be aimed at the roads that you've got that mix of road users on, sort of thing. So you've got pedestrians, you've got cyclists, you've got scooters, if they're on a legal scheme. And that actually motorists have got a sort of, what we want to do is get motorists onto those bigger, faster roads, you know, like the motorways, like the A roads. But actually those little ones, you know, we talk about putting 20 mile an hour outside schools, but kids don't suddenly magically appear at school. They start where they live and they have to get to those schools. And I think that's the really important thing. And, the speed limits could be higher if the infrastructure is there for those who are cycling and walking. So you can have higher speed limits if you've got the infrastructure for those people who are cycling and walking.
I mean, Jamie, I don't mean to be rude, but you're from the Parliamentary Advisory Council for Transport Safety, so that will be your number one priority when it comes to implementing such a policy. But what do people actually want? Because in Wales there was an absolute uproar. Surely democracy should be a factor in this. Has it been put to the people of Birmingham? Have they said resoundingly, yes, we want all our roads to be 20 mile per hour?
I think when it comes to the outroar, it's from some motorists. And unfortunately, school children aren't very organised at sort of putting, arguments together on actually the benefits to them. So I think, when you think about actually who this benefits, and this doesn't necessarily disbenefit motorists, because actually a lot of these roads, they have to, you've got junctions, you've got all these things that slow them down anyhow, but it's actually making it smoother by having these lower speed limits. I mean, London, I think about 50% of the roads in London are now 20%. I think it's going to happen. It's just how well it's implemented.
OK, well, Jamie Hassel, thank you very much indeed. You're from the Parliamentary Advisory Council for Transport Safety. Someone's got in touch here saying, Emily and Mark, this is Maria. Emily and Mark, I live in South Birmingham. You're lucky to reach 20 miles per hour with the constant heavy traffic. No, Birmingham is like a building site with road constantly restricted by roadworks. I mean, that's the same in London, for sure.
Well, I was just going to say that. There's many 20 mile an hour speed limits in London, and really you're doing well if you can make good progress at 20 mile an hour down the road.
You'd be lucky to get to 20 mile per hour. But I mean, also the cyclists. I mean, how fast do some of them go? They seem like they're trying to break a record every time they get on their bike.
Oh yeah, I mean, they zip past the cars, don't they?
It's an outrage.
But that's what they want.
Yeah, that's what they want.
More cyclists on the road. Make a hostile environment for the motorists, get them off the road.
I mean, Ian asks, Birmingham, how are your bins right now? I don't know, actually, an update on the Birmingham bin strike. Is it still ongoing?
I haven't heard that it's ended, so...
Let us know if you're continuing to be impacted by that one. Stinky streets.
Yeah.
And now they're very slow-moving streets.
This is Good Afternoon Britain. Lots more coming up your way, including, of course, the summer holidays almost reaching an end. But GBNews, Dougie Beattie, is hitting the road for one last great British adventure.
Ready to soak up that holiday sunshine?
Won't we need some cover?
No worries. All sorted.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Hi there. It's hot across central parts of Europe, especially across Italy next few days. Meanwhile, thundery downpours will affect large parts of France as well as central areas. And we've got some showery rain pushing through the Canary Islands, but the more unsettled weather will move into Portugal and Spain during Thursday and Friday. Heavy rain, strong winds, as thunderstorms across France and Germany continue. And it's going to be very unsettled through central and western parts of Europe as we go into the weekend.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Good morning, welcome to your latest GB News weather update brought to you from the Met Office. A thundery day today. We do have warnings in force through today and tomorrow for parts of England and Wales. That's where we see intense rainfall falling in a short period of time. There is a chance of some surface water flooding. That's all being brought about by low pressure down to the south of the UK, throwing up this wet air, but also more humid air. So wherever you are going to notice the humidity and warmth through today. It's England and Wales, though, where we've got the greatest chance of heavy downpours throughout today, particularly for more central areas of England and North Wales into this evening, where the showers may linger for a time. There will be some brightness into the afternoon, a bit more than we've had this morning, and it will feel warm in the sunshine, particularly across more southern areas where temperatures could climb to 29 degrees. It's going to be a pretty dry day for much of Scotland, though, as we're further north from this area of low pressure. So for the far north of Scotland, it's a fine end to the day. Temperatures around 18 or 19 degrees. Northeastern England as well, getting away with quite a lot of dry weather. A bit more of an easterly wind here, though, so it will feel a little bit fresher at the coast. But as you can see, it's parts of North Wales, central England in particular, where there's the greatest chance of heavy downpours. That brings the risk of lightning as well as hail and some surface water flooding throughout this evening. Now, there's a bit of respite to come overnight tonight before the next batch of rain pushes up by Thursday morning. So for many of us, it's going to be a dry and humid night. For wherever you are going to notice the humidity overnight. Temperatures holding up in the high teens. We could see some mist and fog developing as well rurally by Thursday morning. But the rain does return through Thursday morning for England and Wales. There's another warning in forceful thunderstorms, again for that chance of surface water flooding as well as lightning and some quite large hail through the afternoon. The rain may last quite a while as it pushes into North Wales, central England through Thursday, and we could see some quite gusty winds. But again, it's looking like another dry day further north. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Britain, for making GB News Radio such a huge success. Whether you're in the car, on the go, or listening at home, thank you for choosing us as your radio station.
Good afternoon. This is the latest AI travel news from GBNews.com. The A14 eastbound is closed between junctions 23 and 24B. The M1 southbound is closed between junctions 18 and 17 near Kilsby. The M62 westbound is closed between junctions 23 and 22 near Saddleworth. In Scotland, the A78 Dunlop Street to A8 Ratho Street is closed in both directions. Across Wales, the A483 from Beulah to Kilmerry is affected by a collision. And on the trains, East Midlands Railway services are running a temporary reduced timetable, and the Elizabeth Line has disruption between Romford and Shenfield. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
Welcome back. It's now 12:51 and it's the news you've been waiting for. We've now heard the Telegraph are reporting that the Duke and Duchess of Sussex, that's Prince Harry and Meghan, have arrived in Britain. They've landed this lunchtime in Birmingham Airport.
Straight into the bin strike.
Straight into the bin strike, straight into the potential 20-mile-per-hour zone. So there you go, they have arrived. We'll bring you more on that as we get it.
Now, moving on, it's the final week of the summer holidays and Doogie Beattie is hitting the road for a tour of Britain ahead of the bank holiday weekend.
Another fabulous jingle for you, Doogie. Portrush in Northern Ireland. Tell us about it.
Well, what a fabulous jingle it is. I still haven't seen it. Dread to think what it's like, same as Benidorm. But yeah, Portrush, famous for a lot of things, including surfing. I've been out and about this morning talking to people. And I'm joined now by Andrew Hill. Andrew, you run this surf shop here. Tell us about this summer. How's it been?
This summer's been very good now. This July we were up on last year. This August has been about the same. Our real benefit this year is we've seen a lot of new visitors, a lot of American golfers, a lot of Canadian visitors and a lot of foreign visitors that are actually come to escape the hot weather over from Europe. They've come here because we haven't had the best weather. We haven't experienced the same weather that you've had over in England, but it has been a bumper summer for us.
Yeah, and the surf's really good here. I mean, this is your father here in this picture.
No, that's me, sorry.
So that's you, that's your father beside it. So, yeah, there you go.
He's 27 years old in that picture now. He's 88. He was one of the first surfers in the country, and we've been selling for over 40 years. We have a surf school, we have 3 shops, and people come from all over the world here to surf. We do have world-class waves.
Brilliant. Thank you for joining us this morning. Another man here. He's from, where are you from?
Reading.
And what,
in England.
What brought you to Portrush?
Female.
So you're now living in Portrush, is that right?
No, well, just outside, 3 miles outside.
And what do you think of Portrush?
Love it. Absolutely love it. We've got family coming at the weekend, you know, it's great.
Brilliant. Thank you for joining us this morning, sir. You will be here very shortly. The mainland, and then the fun will really begin as we're visiting somewhere that most people will be aware of, but we'll find that out in the morning.
Fantastic stuff. Thank you, Doogie. As ever, Doogie Beattie there in Portrush in Northern Ireland for us on Doogie's Grand Tour.
Well, we are just going to take a break. We'll be right back at the top of the hour with all the very latest on claims that the government is continuing to cover up the extent of migrant criminality.
That's up next. Stick with us here on GB News.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello, good afternoon. Welcome to your latest GB News weather update brought to you from the Met Office. A continued risk of thunderstorms through the rest of today. There are warnings in force because there's a chance of surface water flooding despite the very dry ground. It will remain relatively dry though for more northern areas. That's because we're further away from this area of low pressure that's introducing this wetter weather, but also the increased humidity and warmth, which you may have noticed out there this afternoon. It's going to be quite a humid night tonight. The rain will likely drift into parts of Scotland throughout the early hours of Thursday. A chance of some heavy downpours, perhaps the odd thunderstorm, but they tend to fade away. And for many of us, it will be a dry but warm night tonight. A little bit more cloud and perhaps some mist and fog around to start the day. It's a short dry window though for the very far south coast before the next batch of intense rainfall pushes in. And further north, it's going to be a dry and bright start for much of Scotland. Just the odd shower across the far north and west. It's the remnants of the rainfall from this afternoon. But for much of the Western Highlands, it's going to be a relatively dry and bright start. The southwest of Scotland as well, seeing plenty of fine weather. As we head further south, that band of rain is quite steadily pushing northwards into parts of Wales, central England, the southeast of England by mid-morning on Thursday. There is a warning for thunderstorms again. We could see some surface water flooding, some quite large hail, gusty winds as well as lightning. So perhaps some impacts from this rainfall despite it being much awaited. Brightens up a little bit across more southern areas, but then we could see some further showers developing into the afternoon. But in the sunshine, it's going to feel warm. Highs of 27 degrees on Thursday. Further north, another warm day and a dry day for much of Northern Ireland and Scotland on Thursday as well. Thursday evening sees the area of low pressure start to become more centred across the UK, and the rain will start to pivot, pushing into more northern areas. So quite a widely wet day, further heavy downpours likely, and the bank holiday is looking a little bit mixed. Bye-bye.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
It's brand new and it's the big one. Courtesy of Marquis Leisure, you could win this brand new 4-berth motorhome. But that's just the beginning, as we'll also give you a whopping £35,000 in tax-free cash to spend, save, or just to use to enjoy adventures in your new motorhome.
For a chance to win, text prize to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB23 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 23rd of October. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Welcome to Free Speech Nation with me, Josh Howard. This is the show where each week we see what's happening in the world of culture, current affairs and politics.
First we'll say, welcome to the UK. Oh, thank you.
And we're not afraid to use our free speech so that you can use yours.
It's not controversial in the slightest to anyone who hasn't lost their mind.
Free Speech Nation, Sunday nights at 7 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
I've been in Westminster for a long time, but I know that though power may be here, its effect on people's lives is across the whole of the country. We may be where rules are made, but it's where they're implemented that matters. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for forthright and frank discussion on where Britain has come from, where it's going, and where it will end up. That's State of the Nation, Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Vox Populi, Vox Dei.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christie's Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions. But every Friday night at 9 p.m, you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christie's Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Well, good afternoon, Britain. It's 1 o'clock on Wednesday, the 26th of August. I'm Mark White.
And I'm Emily Carver. Well, the breaking news this lunchtime, Harry and Meghan and their children have reportedly landed in Britain. It's understood they flew in privately from California to Birmingham Airport.
Yes, a private jet starting their new life, a reversal of Megxit, but huge questions remain, particularly around security and, of course, what they'll be doing in the United Kingdom. More details shortly.
The government is being accused of covering up the extent of crimes committed by foreign nationals. The families of victims are demanding the government stop blocking the release of migrant crime data.
Yes, it seems to be increasingly often that we hear of horrific crimes carried out by migrants. Just today, we hear about a Sudanese asylum seeker who slashed a woman 30 times with a bottle. Why doesn't the government want the data released? I'll bring you the details shortly.
Millions of British households will face the highest energy charges in 3 years this winter as the energy price is raised for a second time in just 3 months.
As the CIA director flies to Moscow for secret talks, Andy Burnham has been warned that Britain faces Russian retaliation over UK support for Ukraine. It's reported security chiefs have told the Prime Minister to be prepared for a direct response from Vladimir Putin.
Elsewhere, British tourists are among hundreds missing after an avalanche of ice and rock triggered devastating flash floods that tore through parts of Nepal. We'll bring you up to date on this escalating situation.
Jolene, 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 Jolene. Please don't take him just because you can.
Yeah, terribly sad news. The country music legend Dolly Parton has died at the age of 80. Best known for her genre-defining hits 9 to 5, I Will Always Love You and Jolene. She passed away from a short battle with cancer.
I guess a debate is now emerging as to whether they should have flown a private jet over to Birmingham.
Well, I think it's a debate worth having, to be honest, because we had it shoved down our throats for such a long time that we weren't doing enough to protect the planet and that Harry and Meghan would lead the way. They were the crusaders who were going to save this planet, but they've been caught out a number of times, haven't they? Flying off regularly, often on a private jet, long distances.
Gas-guzzling super yachts. As well. They've been spotted on at times. But yes, Harry had a Travelist company. I'll just bring you into this, Cameron, because I don't want to get my facts wrong on this one, and you're our royal correspondent. Wasn't Harry heading up a company called Travelist that was all about sustainable travelling?
Yes, he has, and he still is part of that particular firm, all about sustainable travelling. I think from their perspective, I mean, clearly it's an incredibly high-profile trip. They would be not wanting to fly commercially across the Atlantic with 2 young children when, you know, lots of people have camera phones. They would be in first class, though, and I think most people in first class are probably quite discreet, so I don't think they would say much.
A little wig and a disguise?
Yeah,
Could
quite
sort
possibly.
them out?
Quite possibly, but yes, they've chosen to fly into Birmingham. You can't fly direct from Los Angeles to Birmingham, as far as I'm aware, commercially at least, so perhaps that's one of the reasons why. Security probably was also a factor, but nonetheless, not a great look if you are trying to preached, as some would say, about the environment, although he's not done that for some time, and then flying in a gas-guzzling private jet.
He's not done it for some time because you've been caught out so often being a little bit hypocritical, I would suggest.
I would also point out that Prince William, when he goes to his Earthshot Prize around the world, he always flies commercially.
Oh, but he's a working royal, Cameron.
Yes, but he'll fly on a British Airways plane.
Yeah, and he's the heir to the throne.
Yep, he is. He is. Yes.
There you go.
Although the king sometimes flies privately. Well, all the time, actually.
And what a landing.
But he's the king.
Straight into Birmingham Airport.
Straight into the bin strike.
Straight into bin strike.
Straight into 20-mile-an-hour limits. There'll be no rapid convoys. Don't think he gets a police convoy anyway. But
That'll bring them down to earth from their Montecito mansion. Anyway, gbnews.com/say do get in touch. But let's get to the headlines with Sam Francis.
Thank you both, and good afternoon to you. The top story this lunchtime, well, it is that the Duke and Duchess of Sussex are understood to have landed back in the UK with their children, Archie and Lilibet, for what is being described as an extended stay. Harry and Meghan are believed to have flown in privately to Birmingham from California, 6 years on from stepping back from royal duties and moving to America. It's thought the family will base themselves outside London, with the children due to start school next week. The Sussexes have not been in the UK together since Queen Elizabeth's funeral in 2022. At this stage, though, it remains unclear what security arrangements will be made for their return. Here, households are facing higher energy bills this winter after Ofgem has raised its price cap by 4%, marking a 3-year high. From October, the average annual bill will rise by £60 to £1,723, just as families start using more heating. Ofgem says high international gas prices are still driving energy costs in the UK, with volatile global markets putting more pressure on bills. The government says its cut to VAT on electricity has limited that rise, but analysts are already forecasting another increase in the new year. A former police chief, 3 officers and a staff member are being investigated for possible gross misconduct over a ban on Maccabi Tel Aviv fans attending a match at Villa Park. The police watchdog says the probe is looking at Craig Guilford's role in the decision while he was West Midlands Police Chief Constable. The ban stopped Israeli club supporters from going to the game in Birmingham. The watchdog's investigation is ongoing, and at this stage, no findings have been made. In Pakistan, at least 14 newborn babies have died after a fire broke out in a hospital in Pakistan. Officials say the blaze started in an air conditioning unit at a hospital in Islamabad before spreading through the maternity ward. One baby was rescued, where 15 newborns were being cared for at the time. Pakistan's Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif has ordered an immediate inquiry, with a report due within 24 hours. And as we've been reporting today, Dolly Parton is being remembered as a once-in-a-lifetime star after her death at the age of 80, following what her publicist described as a brief battle with cancer. The country music superstar was best known, of course, for hits including Jolene, 9 to 5 and I Will Always Love You. Tributes have been pouring in around the world, Sir Paul McCartney among them, calling her a magnificent star. Landmarks in America have also been lit up in pink in her honour, as fans remembered not just her music, but her philanthropy too. Those are the latest headlines for now. I'll be back with you shortly, now though it's back to Mark and Emily.
Take the GB News family with you on any device. As long as you have an internet connection, tune into GB News anywhere on the planet or beyond.
Well, some breaking news now, and it's being reported that the Duke and Duchess of Sussex and their children have now returned to the UK.
Yes, Prince Harry, Meghan and their 2 children have flown into the country privately from California, landing at Birmingham Airport. Well, in the studio with us is our royal correspondent, Cameron Borker, with the latest. So they've arrived ahead of the new school term. The children will be getting ready, getting their uniforms in check, making sure their satchels are full of everything that you need. for a new term. It's going to be all go, 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 isn't it?
Yes, probably the first time the two children have had to wear a school uniform, having grown up in California, of course. Yes, the BBC and the Telegraph are both reporting that the Duke and Duchess of Sussex are landing in the UK today. The Telegraph extending that and saying they are landing in Birmingham. We are trying, as several other media outlets, I'm sure, are also doing, trying to confirm this for ourselves. Nonetheless, it would appear that they landed earlier today at Birmingham Airport. We don't think they're going to be living in Birmingham. We think probably Cotswolds is more likely, but it is the nearest airport. Flying in via a private jet, which has been perhaps quite controversial, as we were pointing out earlier. Prince Harry founded the company Travelist in 2019, which tries to kind of campaign for sustainable travel around the world and London Climate Week, etc., etc. Could there be a conflict of interest? I think from Harry's perspective, you know, he's bringing his high-profile family across the Atlantic when there has been a media storm for the last week. Perhaps a big move across the Atlantic, stressful enough as it is. I can imagine they probably thought the best way is just coming in quietly-ish, although now the Telegraph and BBC have got it, of course, via a private jet to Birmingham and then just a short drive to wherever they're going to be staying. We don't know exactly where they're going to be staying. We're just guessing that we think it's in the Cotswolds area based on the fact that they previously rented a house there following their wedding in 2018, 2019. And, of course, one of Meghan's reasons for moving here is to get back into acting. We think that she's still in talks with Guy Ritchie to join the third season of The Gentleman, which films in the Cotswolds. So that's potentially a reason.
Well, as you were saying before the news bulletin on this issue of flying in a private jet, the heir to the throne very regularly will fly British Airways, wherever the airline, usually British Airways, I think.
Yeah.
OK, in first class, but still on a scheduled flight. Is he suggesting that he's, you know, higher profile, more at risk than the heir to the throne?
Quite possibly. I mean, Harry has been complaining quite publicly about the security threat against him. He also claims that he is at more of a risk, or at least he used to claim he was more of a risk than Prince William himself, because he said the last risk management board that was carried out, which was 2019, ahead of this other one, but we don't know the findings for yet, he was put in the same category, which is the highest risk category, as two other individuals, one of which was Queen Elizabeth II, and the other was the then Prime Minister Theresa May, because he had served 2 tours of Afghanistan and all the rest of it. Now, we can't independently verify that. We're only taking Prince Harry's claims for that. But if he's got the same mindset, then he would suggest he's at higher risk than the heirs to the throne.
Yeah, I mean, if I were him, I would probably also take my family in a private jet if I could afford it, and to avoid having to, you know, have photos taken of myself and potentially be harassed by other passengers. But
would you be preaching?
Exactly, but I haven't been out there preaching about the environment and climate change and this, that and the other. But on another note, I wonder, could it be possible that they might be borrowing a home from someone?
I think it's possible that they're renting. There's no suggestion that they've actively bought a property.
From a friend, I mean, or something.
Quite possibly. They've done that in the past. When they first moved to Los Angeles, they stayed at their friend's house of Meghan's, who they hadn't actually met before. But yes, they stayed at a friend's house there. So I suspect that could be a possibility when they do move. Because they don't know, of course, if this UK experiment is going to work. They haven't put a time frame of how long they're going to be staying here. It could be 6 months, could be 12 months, whatever. I think one of the main reasons for such a rush move in September is the school situation and the fact that their places for Prince Archie and Princess Lilibet, their places at this school, wherever it is, were only confirmed a couple of weeks ago. So that's why the move appears to be quite rushed, although they did have a contingency plan, so they knew exactly where they were going to be living and all the rest of it, just on the off chance that the school places were confirmed.
And isn't Ellen DeGeneres leaving her luxurious place in the Cotswolds to head back to the States?
Yeah, she is indeed. Yeah, we believe she has sold her place in the Cotswolds with her wife,
very
Portia
up
de
on
Rossi.
all the showbiz news.
But Jerry Halliwell, of course, she's got a place there, so they will have friends. We do know that Harry and Meghan are big fans, I believe, of Jerry Halliwell and her husband too.
Oh.
Well, you know what? I wish them well. I think they need to apologise to their family as a priority. But after that, I wish them well. Perhaps they can do good things in this country.
Yeah,
And I hope that the children do well at school and that they're not, you know, bothered too much by media intrusion. But yes, I think they need to say sorry to some people.
Yeah, for the sake of the King and his ongoing health battles, it would be great if they come back and it is not a controversial return, that they just knuckle down and get on with it.
Yeah, well, Cameron Walker, thank you very much indeed. Right, we're going to move on because the government has been accused today of covering up the true extent of crimes committed by foreign nationals in Britain.
Yes, a group of families of some of the victims of crimes committed by foreign national offenders have written to the Justice Secretary urging him to stop blocking the release of migrant crime data.
Among those who've written the letter is the family of hotel worker Rhiannon White, who was murdered by an asylum seeker in the West Midlands.
Deng Chaw Majek from South Sudan stalked and then stabbed Rhiannon to death at a railway station in Walsall in 2024.
Others include the 14-year-old girl who was sexually assaulted by Ethiopian illegal immigrant Hadush Kabatu, who was staying at an asylum seeker hotel in the Essex town of Epping.
And the partner of dog walker Wayne Broadhurst, who was stabbed to death on a residential street in West London, is another who has joined and sent that letter into the Justice Secretary.
Yes, Afghan national Dawood Safi, who arrived illegally into Britain in the back of a lorry, was convicted of Mr Broadhurst's killing just last month.
Well, they are some of the victims of crimes committed by migrants in recent years. So does the public and victims of these crimes deserve to know the true extent of criminality even linked to foreign nationals? And why is the government so determined not to share that information with the wider public?
Well, GB News chief political correspondent Catherine Forster joins us now. Well, the government have said that it would be very costly to do so, and that we might risk sort of revealing the identities of certain individuals. That seems to be their stated excuse. The fact that they're willing to go to court to block the release of this information suggests to me that this is a cover-up, that they don't want us to know this information.
Well, there's that saying, isn't there? Sunlight is the best disinfectant, but clearly the government does not want sunlight on these figures. So, yes, families have written to the current Justice Secretary, Alex Norris. There's been an ongoing battle. The Centre for Migration Control has been trying to get the total number of convictions broken down by nationality and offence for the last 7 years of people from other countries. The government has given the excuses that you have outlined, but the Information Commissioner was having none of it and ruled that this information should be published. Then steps in David Lammy, who was Justice Secretary at the time, and said no. And so the government is taking legal action to make sure that these figures do not come to light. So you can draw your own conclusions. Of course, most crime in this country is committed by British people. Of course, most crime in this country, sexual crime, probably by white people, because British people and white people are in a majority. But nevertheless, day after day, we hear of these terrible sexual crimes and murders by migrants. The government has put out some information. The top 10 nationalities for sexual offences in England and Wales 2024. India, Romania, Poland, Pakistan, Afghanistan. But that, of course, is the total number, not the number per capita, which I think is what's very interesting. In other words, how many of this nationality are there in the country, and then how many offences are there, and then what is the propensity? That information is not forthcoming at all, and opposition parties, understandably, are saying that this is a cover-up.
And I just don't buy the claim anyway that it's costly, because those stats do exist. When crime surveys and, criminal data releases happen every quarter, half year, annually, lots of information is there. The information on an individual's nationality, ethnicity, when they come to the country, it's all there. It can be collected. Not a massive extra cost, I would suggest.
Well, you would think, but I personally have put in 3 Freedom of Information requests this year to the Home Office, and every single time, despite my making them narrower and narrower and narrower, they've come back with this is above the cost limit, which I would think is very convenient. But other countries do manage to put out this data, Denmark, for instance. So I think there is a very valid question. Why can other countries manage to put out this information and do? And why does the government not want us to do the same?
Yes, I think people want to know the nationality. They want to know how they arrived in this country, and they want to know their immigration status, don't they, really? Because that is what should change policy from the government.
Yeah, and the first duty of government is to keep us safe. That means not just from Russia, but potentially from people who've crossed the channel illegally, who we don't know things about them. This most recent one that's broken in the news, the Sudanese asylum seeker with mental health problems who'd been rejected for asylum in France, who slashed a woman 30 times with a broken bottle in Leeds, and she luckily has survived. But obviously she will be damaged and traumatised for the rest of her life.
Just absolutely horrendous.
Well, thank you very much, Catherine. Appreciate that. Let's speak now to the policing and crime commentator, Danny Shaw. Good afternoon to you, Danny. Listen, it might be the case that there really is nothing to see here, but we hear about these cases involving foreign offenders, not weekly now, but it seems every other day, which, of course, gives a rise to the suspicion that it's much more entrenched a problem than we're being told about. Surely the best thing for the government to do is just to get the facts out there.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a big fan of freedom of information and getting as many details and statistics out there, and openness and transparency. In my time as a journalist, I've put in countless freedom of information requests and been knocked back. And in fact, once when I was at the BBC, we did have to go to court to challenge the Home Office's refusal to provide some details, and we won that case. I think what's happening here is quite simply David Lammy or a minister or officials in the department when he was in charge have decided, for whatever reason, this is too politically sensitive, this is very delicate, this is, you know, going to be very uncomfortable, we'll try and delay, we'll try and block, we'll perhaps, you know, the request will go away, the people making it will give up, or the courts will block it. I mean, so I think it's a mistake because it's actually simply being counterproductive. It's just drawing attention to the fact that they're being obstructive. So I think the best thing for Alex Norris to do would be to listen to the victims and their families, and to publish this data. The only caveat I would say, Mark, is, you know, we have to be careful with statistics because sometimes the statistics aren't very good. They haven't been compiled properly. They're a bit raw. They're not in context. So I would just put that caveat. But yeah, absolutely. Let's get the information out there. I'm an absolute believer in that. There is some information already out there, by the way. The number of offenders who are in prisons in England and Wales who are foreign nationals is published routinely. There are 12,000 of them. And they have a list of all the nationalities. The top nationality, I think, is Albanian. I think Irish people are in the top 5 as well. So those nationalities are published. And there have been some publications. I think foreign national offenders accounted for 1 in 7 of sexual offence convictions last year, 1 in 7. But that does mean that 6 out of 7 were not foreign nationals. They were people in Britain, people who are British born or British nationals.
Well, thank you very much indeed, police and crime commentator Danny Shaw there. I mean, to be frank, as a woman, I'm worried about stranger rape. I'm worried about the sort of random attacks, sexual assaults in the street. We've seen attacks on beaches, for example, at Bournemouth and Brighton Beach. The sort of grabbing someone away from a nightclub or a bar late at night and sexually assaulting them. That's in particular what I'm worried about, because that is just so random. Sometimes, and I'm worried that we've imported more of that from countries where women are seen as lesser. And I want the statistics to show whether that's the case.
Well, anecdotally, just as someone who obviously observes the courts and the criminal justice system, it does feel to me that there are many more of these cases coming through. Now, I'm, you know, willing to accept that some of that is because they are notable media interests, so they get reported on, whereas some other cases that might involve, you know, white British nationals are not getting reported. But
because it's more of a scandal if someone's arrived illegally.
Put the data out there and let us know if that is actually what we're seeing here, and there is no more propensity for someone who's a foreign national or someone who's from Afghanistan or Sudan being involved in sexual offences than someone here in the UK.
Yeah. And also with regards to their immigration status, how they arrived in this country. If you arrive here illegally, are you more likely to commit these types of crimes?
And as Catherine pointed out before as well, you know, one of the key issues here is the fact that even if it is not hugely different to what the level of criminality is amongst British-born individuals, the fact is we are taking these people into our country who are then adding to the crimes, adding to the offences committed against often vulnerable women in this country.
Well, a Ministry of Justice spokesperson has said protecting the public is our priority and we are committed to supporting victims of all crimes, including through our record £550 million funding package for victim support services. We do not comment on live legal proceedings.
Well, this is Good Afternoon Britain on GB News. Lots more coming up on today's show.
Yes, shocking figures show a burglary goes unsolved every 3 minutes in England and Wales, with the police failing to identify a single suspect in more than 7 out of 10 cases.
But after the break, Andy Burnham is reportedly poised to announce a complete ban on the trade of goods from Israeli settlements in the West Bank. Is he just trying to appease the hard left of his party?
Bold. They are under no illusion. Ray. Are you a human trafficker? Boundless. I've had enough of the nonsense, and I'm not afraid to say it. Don't get this on the BBC. Every weeknight, I tear through the headlines. The smell of gasoline. Should we be worried about it? From Westminster madness to cultural war chaos. What we're going to do now, they are throwing things out the car as we speak. Get ready, Britain. Here we go. Patrick Christie's tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
From cold mornings
to warm family brunches.
From football to tennis in the car.
In the kitchen.
GB News Breakfast is there. With the stories you need and the conversations that matter.
Anyway, let's talk business.
Well, it has been a historic night in British politics.
It's astonishing, isn't it?
We're here again. To start your day just right. GB News Breakfast.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on GB News.
Britain's news channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Britain is not just a geographical expression. We are a people bound together by history and culture that are distinctively British. Join me to celebrate our music, theatre, artworks and literature, which we can explore and enjoy together.
Everybody's welcome.
Sunday with Michael Portillo. Every Sunday at 11 a.m. on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
I've been in Westminster for a long time, but I know that though power may be here, its effect on people's lives is across the whole of the country. We may be where rules are made, but it's where they're implemented that matters. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for forthright and frank discussion on where Britain has come from, where it's going, and where it will end up. That's State of the Nation, Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Vox Populi, Vox Dei.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Well, just a warning that some viewers may find the footage that we're about to play distressing because it relates to a terrible tragedy unfolding in Nepal. A total of 22 bodies have now been recovered after torrential rain in the Himalayan border areas of Nepal and Tibet. That, according to a police official.
Yes, and 12 British citizens are among hundreds of travellers missing after flash floods swept through the region of Nepal. Now, Nepal's tourism boards say more than 380 travellers are missing currently, including at least 290 foreign tourists.
Wow, and at least 22 bodies, as we say, have already been recovered, while some local media reports suggest major casualties across the border in Tibet. And those images there,
shocking,
Emily, were just absolutely awful. I mean, you could see the ferocity of that slide. I mean, it's just all the vehicles there and structures that are just being buried and sort of pushed aside.
What an appalling
awful
disaster. It's believed the floods may have been triggered by an earthquake, causing an avalanche. We'll bring you right up to date throughout the show. As it stands, 22 bodies have been recovered and a number of British tourists are missing.
Well, we know it's very popular, of course, that part of the world to go and explore the Himalayas.
Yeah.
Many more adventurous British tourists go and do that on a regular basis. So the very worrying reports that 12 British nationals are among those missing.
OK, well, we're going to move on because Andy Burnham is reportedly poised to announce a ban on trade with settlements in the Israeli-occupied West Bank.
The Prime Minister has already pledged sanctions against Benjamin Netanyahu's government in response to controversial plans for thousands of new settler homes.
Well, what does this mean for British-Israeli relations? Joining us now is Chief Executive of UK Lawyers for Israel, Jonathan Turner. Jonathan, thank you very much indeed for joining us. Andy Burnham has spoken out in recent weeks, well, sort of in the run-up to him becoming Prime Minister, saying that Sir Keir Starmer's stance on Israel was not tough enough. This could be Andy Burnham toughening up his stance towards the Israeli state. What are your thoughts?
Well, I think there's a lot of internal Labour Party politics here and Labour Party versus other parties. And it seems to us that Keir Starmer wants to appease people who would like to see more Jews killed. And who don't like the idea of Jews defending themselves. So he starts with what Keir Starmer said following the appalling atrocities of Hamas on the 7th of October 2023, when Starmer said that Israel had a right to defend itself, as it certainly does. And now he's going on to take threatening to take other steps as well. We've looked at these as a legal group and do believe that they are actually the proposed trade ban would be unlawful. The claim by some members of the government that it's required by international law is wrong. But over and above that, we think that it would be counterproductive because it would actually damage businesses where thousands of Palestinians are employed. And those jobs are especially valuable to the Palestinian economy. The Palestinian workers there are paid on average twice what Palestinians are paid by Palestinian employers. They are very important now because so many Palestinians have lost their jobs within Israel, within the Green Line, within the armistice lines that ended the original war and attempt to destroy Israel back in 1949, what many countries have regarded as Israel's borders. Very many Palestinians used to be employed there, but Hamas used information gathered by some of these workers in Israel, some of these employees of Israeli businesses, in order to plan and execute their attack and atrocities of the 7th of October 2023. So for security reasons, Israel has now greatly restricted the number of employees that come into Israel within the Green Line. And so these jobs that have largely been retained in the areas of Israeli communities in the West Bank, in Judea, Samaria and East Jerusalem, those jobs are now especially important for keeping the Palestinian economy afloat.
I'm sure that absolutely is true, Jonathan, but you can't be blind to some of the images, the very concerning images coming out of the West Bank involving settlers. And I think those that are calling for a tougher approach from Andy Barnum say they're deeply concerned about what's happening in the West Bank. Do you acknowledge to any extent those concerns?
Yes, I certainly do. There have been some disgraceful attacks by a tiny minority of residents of Judea and Samaria and East Jerusalem, the West Bank, against Palestinians, and the offenders should definitely be found, if at all possible, and severely punished and sanctioned. And no problems with that. But the businesses that are going to be targeted if trade sanctions are imposed are reputable businesses who have nothing to do with these violent thugs, and indeed nothing to do with the violent thugs on the Palestinian side,
and there's a
which
concern,
is also a problem.
There's a concern, of course, Jonathan, that this type of boycott on settlements might extend then to a further boycott on the entirety of Israel. I'm sure that is what a lot of people on the left of the Labour Party would like to see. Currently, more than 140 Labour MPs, about a third of the party, have signed this letter calling for the government to ban trade with Israeli settlements. And it does look as though there's going to be a motion at Labour's conference next month. So this could become government policy quite quickly, couldn't it, Jonathan?
Well, yes, it could. Although I did notice, looking at David Miliband's statement regarding the proposed construction in the E1 area, at the end, he referred to various steps that the UK government might take. And this didn't actually specify a trade ban. So I don't know whether the government are looking at this again in the light of the practical issues that it raises and the damage that may be done to the Palestinian economy if that's registered with them. We have sent them a memorandum setting out our concerns, both in terms of the impact on Palestinians and the illegality of the proposals.
OK, well, Jonathan Turner, thank you very much indeed. Really appreciate your time. Chief Executive of UK Lawyers for Israel.
Well, you're with Good Afternoon Britain on GB News. Lots more coming up on the show.
Yes, Birmingham is set to become England's first 20-mile-per-hour city, lowering the speed limits on the majority of its roads. Is this a sensible safety measure or a slow-motion disaster?
Good morning, welcome to your latest GB News weather update brought to you from the Met Office. A thundery day today. We do have warnings in force through today and tomorrow for parts of England and Wales. That's where we see intense rainfall falling in a short period of time. There is a chance of some surface water flooding. That's all being brought about by low pressure down to the south of the UK, throwing up this wet air, but also more humid air. So wherever you are going to notice the humidity and warmth through today. It's England and Wales, though, where we've got the greatest chance of heavy downpours throughout today, particularly for more central areas of England and North Wales into this evening, where the showers may linger for a time. There will be some brightness into the afternoon, a bit more than we've had this morning, and it will feel warm in the sunshine, particularly across more southern areas where temperatures could climb to 29 degrees. It's going to be a pretty dry day for much of Scotland, though, as we're further north from this area of low pressure. So for the far north of Scotland, it's a fine end to the day. Temperatures around 18 or 19 degrees. Northeastern England as well, getting away away with quite a lot of dry weather. A bit more of an easterly wind here, though, so it will feel a little bit fresher at the coast. But as you can see, it's parts of North Wales, central England in particular, where there's the greatest chance of heavy downpours. That brings the risk of lightning as well as hail and some surface water flooding throughout this evening. Now, there's a bit of respite to come overnight tonight before the next batch of rain pushes up by Thursday morning. So for many of us, it's going to be a dry and humid night. For wherever you are going to notice the humidity overnight. Temperatures holding up in the high teens. We could see some mist and fog developing as well, rurally by Thursday morning. But the rain does return through Thursday morning for England and Wales. There's another warning in forceful thunderstorms, again for that chance of surface water flooding as well as lightning and some quite large hail through the afternoon. The rain may last quite a while as it pushes into North Wales, central England through Thursday, and we could see some quite gusty winds. But again, it's looking like another dry day further north. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Britain, for all of you who listen to GB News Radio.
Whether you're at home or on the go, you're making us Britain's news channel and Britain's radio station.
Good afternoon, this is the latest AI travel news from GBNews.com. The M4 westbound is affected by a collision at Junction 3 in Hayes. The M25 clockwise is also affected by a collision between Junction 17 and 18 in Rickmansworth. The M20 westbound has an obstruction between junctions 5 and 4 in West Malling. In Scotland, the M8 westbound has queuing and lane restrictions between junctions 17 and 16 at Craighall. Across Wales, the A483 from Beulah to Kilmarie is affected by a collision. And on the trains, Grand Central and Great Northern services are facing major disruption between London and Stevenage. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
Welcome back. Now, Birmingham is set to become England's first 20-mile-an-hour city, with the limit planned for almost all roads.
The council says slower speeds will reduce collisions and make walking and cycling safer, but critics have branded the plans anti-motorist.
So, should all cities have a 20-mile-an-hour speed limit?
Well, joining us now is cycling activist Dave Sherry and the writer Charles Amos. OK, Charles, why should we not have a 20-mile-per-hour zone in the whole of Birmingham? I'm not sure if we have Charles there. Let's turn to Dave Sherry, cycling activist. Dave, what did you think? 20 miles per hour in Birmingham, all streets, basically.
Yeah, in London, it's been working. Can't see any issues with it. It's making the roads a safer, better place, especially for pedestrians, cyclists and other vulnerable road users. And also, as a London bus driver, I think it makes the traffic flow even better. As soon as you get from your destination in one piece, doesn't matter what speed you do it at, you're not in a rush, you're not in a race. And I think things have improved. I haven't heard over the years people complaining too much about it, so I think it's working.
Dave, my experience of London, usually being stuck in traffic, is, you're lucky if you do 20 miles an hour. But I do notice quite a few cyclists like yourself zooming by much faster than 20 miles an hour. Would you concede that maybe most of your, or some of your cycling brethren don't obey the speed limits there?
Well, speed limits are for motorised vehicles, cyclists are not. And also, are you ready for it? We have what you call segregated cycle lanes.
Are you really being serious?
The Road Traffic Act's there for motorised vehicles. Cyclists are not motorised vehicles, but hey-ho. We don't need insurance, road tax and all them other things, but no,
that's funny,
people
Dave.
complained about segregated cycle lanes and bus lanes, yeah? You're stuck in there, we're in there, and we whiz it through, happy days. But the thing what lets it down
until we get
is...
to a zebra crossing and run over a pedestrian. Charles, let's bring you in on this. 20 miles per hour limit in most of Birmingham, on most of the streets. Good idea, bad idea?
I think this is a bad idea. I've looked at the rollout of 20-mile-an-hour speed limits across Wales and found that although there are £45 million of benefits through reduced deaths and serious injuries, the increased costs are about £227 million in terms of increased journey time. So the net cost is 182 million pounds. And I, for one, don't want to see motorists bear that 182 million pounds. When setting the speed limit, we should ensure that the marginal cost of it is equal to its marginal benefit. So I'm against 20 mile an hour speed limits. The benefits of them, or rather the cost of them, is 3 times greater than the benefits. So let's not go ahead with them. I mean, I would ask the opponent, or rather my opponent, why not have a 10 mile an hour speed limit or a 5 mile an hour speed limit? I mean, the reasoning that you've outlined suggests that we should have a 10 mile an hour speed limit or a 5 mile an hour speed limit. It's the classic
That's a good question.
runaway
Let's put that to Dave. Dave, why stop at 20?
Well, listen, car drivers are already complaining they're stuck in traffic. Why change it? Just be stuck in traffic and not move anywhere. At the end of the day, it's not affecting the buses or cyclists, so happy days, you know. Car drivers are a funny old breed. They do complain. They don't like congestion charge and ULEZ. They don't like speed limits, you know. They're such a danger, they need insurance because they like their name, kill. But, you know,
I think some of your cycling friends should have insurance. Charles, what would you say to that point then?
Yeah, we complain all the time as motorists because we're continually exploited by cyclists and train users and bus users. All of you guys are subsidised by the state. We're the only one that actually pay into the pot through the various, fuel duty and vehicle exercise duty. We're sick and tired of these freeloaders insisting upon controlling us to a greater and greater extent, taxing us to a greater and greater extent. Also, you can have a cycle lane and a bus at, £2 a journey. I say no. Motorists have had enough. We don't want to be exploited and pushed about anymore. Please just leave us to get on with our lives and get on with our lives at 30 miles an hour, not 20 miles an hour.
Charles, there's probably one point of agreement that you have there with Lightning Dave Sherry, in that he doesn't believe the speed limits should apply to him. As a libertarian, you probably agree with that.
As a libertarian, it's very hard to decide where to put the speed limit. And I think there is a case for speed limits not applying to cyclists, because if you get hit by a cyclist at, say, 35 miles an hour, that's probably not going to do any more harm than getting hit by a car at 30 miles an hour. In fact, it could probably do a lot less. So if we're just thinking about stopping people from going above a permissible level of harm, then there is a case for cyclists having a higher speed limit than motorists.
OK. Well, Charles Amos, Dave Sherry, a little bit of, I don't know.
Lightning Dave Sherry.
Yeah, Lightning
That's your
Dave
new name
Sherry.
from now on.
Really appreciate your time. I mean, I must say, some cyclists are a little bit on the arrogant side of things. What? I make the choice to cycle.
Yeah.
I'm therefore a better person than you.
Well, I think Charles is right.
Not saying Dave necessarily, but just in general.
Yeah, well, I think Charles is right on the point of vehicles doing more damage if they hit you going faster than a bike. Bikes also do horrific damage to pedestrians as well. There's been some terrible cases of pedestrians that have been very badly injured by cyclists speeding through pedestrian crossings.
Also, they push out the traffic.
Yeah.
They push out the traffic. People have to move further into the middle of the road.
Anyway, you heard it from Dave there. The speed limits don't apply to them.
Oh, OK. Well, let us know your thoughts. Do you think speed limits should apply to people on 2 wheels rather than 4? Anyway, this is Good Afternoon Britain on GB News. Lots more coming up.
Country music legend, so sad, Dolly Parton has died at the age of 80. Best known for her genre-defining hits, including 9 to 5, I Will Always Love You, and Emily's favourite, Jolene, has passed away after a short battle with cancer.
Ready to soak up that holiday sunshine?
Won't we need some cover?
No worries. All sorted.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Hi there. It's hot across central parts of Europe, especially across Italy next few days. Meanwhile, thundery downpours will affect large parts of France as well as central areas. And we've got some showery rain pushing through the Canary Islands, but the more unsettled weather will move into Portugal and Spain during Thursday and Friday. Heavy rain, strong winds as thunderstorms across France and Germany continue. And it's going to be very unsettled through central and western parts of Europe as we go into the weekend.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Sunday with Michael Portillo from 11, only on GB News.
In the public sector, buildings like schools and hospitals lack adornment, can be very clunky, can be very ugly, and they don't bear comparison with their equivalents, let's say, from the Victorian age. What do you think of that thesis?
I think, unfortunately, it's entirely correct. I mean, we can see it in some of the examples you talked about today. The one that really sticks in my mind, really there's two. Ones you see kind of every day, or certainly used to, post boxes and phone boxes, and in fact, for a third, water fountains. If you see the new water fountains in London, they're these strange plastic water droplets. We didn't used to build things like this. In fact, the water fountains themselves were once ornate. You had creatures in them, you had actual care taken over them.
GB News, the People's Channel. Nana Akua, weekends from 3 p.m.
Now, you don't want to miss this guest because she was once Britain's longest-serving female prisoner, dubbed the Black Widow. But Linda Galvey has since swapped life behind bars for life as a best-selling crime writer. My goodness. So you've done...
Thank you for having me.
So let's talk about, because some people might not know about you, but you were dubbed as the Black Widow. Why is that?
I was dubbed as the Black Widow. The police said because all of the men in my life either ended up dead or in prison.
I shouldn't laugh. It's not funny.
No, it isn't. But that is me. And since I've been home, I mean, I went to prison for a crime I did commit. I got 7 years, and I deserved that sentence.
GB News, the People's Channel. This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
We have to go back to 1964, when Congress decided to name Washington's National Cultural Center in honor of John F. Kennedy, the president, of course, who had been recently assassinated. As a result, his name was emblazoned on the building. Today, the centre is home to a vast concert hall, as well as an opera house and a theatre. This is the site of cultural events, televised events, gala dinners. The centre is seen as a bastion of liberalism here in Washington, D.C. So what happened when Donald Trump became president for a second time in 2025? Well, in February, his second month in office, he decided to sack many members of the board of the centre behind me and replace it with his allies.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Oh, that's my favourite song by Dolly Parton.
Yeah, the legendary country singer died at the age of 80 following a brief battle with cancer.
She spent over 65 years in the music industry, performing some of country's biggest ever hits, including 9 to 5, Jolene, I Will Always Love You, and Islands in the Stream.
Well, here she is speaking back in 1982.
How do you think you're going to be remembered, let's say, 100 years from now?
Remembered? Well, I think probably what I'd like for people to say about me 100 years from now is, boy, she looks great for her age.
Well, joining us now, yes, you did, yeah. Joining us now is music industry veteran Nick Stewart. Nick, I mean, what a catalogue of songwriting and performances and the influence that she had on so many different people. I didn't realise that she wrote thousands of songs, didn't she?
Well, she did. Good afternoon, both of you. Of course, the problem is that she had only a very small number of hits. You've mentioned most of them. Her first was Jolene in 1976, and then we had 9 to 5, Islands in the Stream, and all the rest of it. She didn't have a vast number of hits here, but she did have an enormous number of hits constantly in the countryside of the country of America, down at Nashville and all that. She was a megastar there. She worked with all kinds of artists and writers. By the way, it's quite nice when you get someone like this dying, you get a lot of people writing about how they felt. And, Paul McCartney, Don Henley of the Eagles, M&M's, 3 very different kinds of individuals, wrote the most touching, glamorous piece about how great they thought she was. So I've quoted a few of the singles she had over here, but I mean, she had hundreds in America. You're absolutely right. And her only 2 albums that made it over here were Blue Smoke, and then the one that she put out after her excellent performance in the 2014 Glastonbury, which was called Pure and Simple. I suspect, by the way, I haven't had a chance yet to check who's got it. I suspect that Pure and Simple will be released and get put out so that people can get wider than just the 4 songs that we've talked about.
Oh, well, hopefully. Nick Stewart, we're going to have to end it there. Sorry, short and sweet. Music industry veteran there. We've run to the end of the hour. This is Good Afternoon Britain, and lots more coming up on today's show.
Yeah, we'll see you again at the top of the hour. But first, here's the weather.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello, good afternoon. Welcome to your latest GB News weather update brought to you from the Met Office. A continued risk of thunderstorms through the rest of today. There are warnings in force because there's a chance of surface water flooding despite the very dry ground. It will remain relatively dry though for more northern areas. That's because we're further away from this area of low pressure that's introducing this wetter weather, but also the increased humidity and warmth, which you may have noticed out there this afternoon. It's going to be quite a humid night tonight. The rain will likely drift into parts of Scotland throughout the early hours of Thursday. A chance of some heavy downpours, perhaps the odd thunderstorm, but they tend to fade away. And for many of us, it will be a dry but warm night tonight. A little bit more cloud and perhaps some mist and fog around to start the day. It's a short dry window though for the very far south coast before the next batch of intense rainfall pushes in. And further north, it's going to be a dry and bright start for much of Scotland. Just the odd shower across the far north and west. It's the remnants of the rainfall from this afternoon. But for much of the western highlands, it's going to be a relatively dry and bright start. The southwest of Scotland as well, seeing plenty of fine weather. As we head further south, that band of rain is quite steadily pushing northwards into parts of Wales, central England, the southeast of England by mid-morning on Thursday. There is a warning for thunderstorms again. We could see some surface water flooding, some quite large hail, gusty winds as well as lightning. So perhaps some impacts from this rainfall despite it being much awaited. Brightens up a little bit across more southern areas, but then we could see some further showers developing into the afternoon. But in the sunshine, it's going to feel warm. Highs of 27 degrees on Thursday. Further north, another warm day and a dry day for much of Northern Ireland and Scotland on Thursday as well. Thursday evening sees the area of low pressure start to become more centred across the UK, and the rain will start to pivot, pushing into more northern areas. So quite a widely wet day, further heavy downpours likely, and the bank holiday is looking a little bit mixed. Bye-bye.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
It's the biggest, greatest Great British giveaway of the year so far.
Courtesy of Marquis Leisure, this brand new McClure Fusion could be yours. We'll also boost your bank account too with a further £35,000 in tax-free cash to spend however you like.
For a chance to win, text prize to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entry starts start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB23 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 23rd of October. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Do you trust what you're being told? Good, because neither do I.
Those are just facts.
I'm Alex Armstrong, and on my show, we'll expose the spin.
Well, I want to answer that because you didn't let me last time, because you always speak over me.
The broken promises.
To deny that is denying the truth.
And the hypocrisy.
Needs to stop. You think we can allow?
Politics, policy, parliament. Nothing is off limits. No sugarcoating, no fear of offence, just the truth laid bare. Tune in every Saturday and Sunday at 9 p.m. for Alex Armstrong Tonight, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akua, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Britain is not just a geographical expression. We are a people bound together by history and culture that are distinctively British. Join me to celebrate our music, theatre, artworks and literature, which we can explore and enjoy together.
Everybody's welcome.
Sunday with Michael Portillo. Every Sunday at 11 a.m. on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Good afternoon, Britain. It's 2 o'clock on Wednesday, the 26th of August. I'm Emily Carver.
And I'm Mark White. Breaking news this hour, Harry and Meghan and their children have reportedly landed in the UK. It's understood they flew in privately from California to Birmingham.
It's believed Prince Harry and Meghan landed just before midday today, taking off from Los Angeles at 6 o'clock local time. That's 2 in the morning, so an overnight secret flight for Harry and Meghan.
The government is being accused of covering up the extent of crimes committed by foreign nationals. The families of victims are demanding that the government stop blocking the release of migrant crime data.
Well, it feels like every second day that there's a new horrific story of a migrant crime in the United Kingdom. Just today, the news that a Sudanese asylum seeker whose application had failed in France slashed a woman 30 times with a broken bottle. So why is the government going to court to stop the data around foreign national crime from being published?
Well, at least 12 British tourists are among hundreds missing after an avalanche of ice and rock triggered devastating flash floods that tore through parts of Nepal. We'll bring you the very latest on this breaking story.
Millions of British households will face the highest energy charges in 3 years this winter as the energy price cap is raised for a second time in just 3 months.
As the CIA director flies to Moscow for secret talks, Andy Burnham has been warned that Britain faces Russian retaliation over UK support for Ukraine. It's reported security chiefs have told the Prime Minister to be prepared for a direct response from Vladimir Putin.
Shocking figures show a burglary goes unsolved every 3 minutes in England and Wales, with the police failing to identify a single suspect in more than 7 out of 10 cases.
Jolene, 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 Jolene. Please don't take him just because you can.
Of course, course, terribly sad news today as the country music legend Dolly Parton dies at the age of 80. Best known for her genre-defining hits, including 9 to 5, I Will Always Love You, and Jolene. She passed away after a short battle with cancer.
OK, well, we've got Meghan and Harry back in Britain with their children, arriving on a private jet into Birmingham Airport. We've also got the government today refusing to release data, refusing to publish data on migrant crime in this country. They're even willing to go to court over this issue. They really don't want that data to be released.
Yeah, we'll obviously have big reaction to both stories coming up after your news bulletin. First of all, with Sam Francis.
Thank you both, and good afternoon to you. Just after 2 o'clock, the Duke and Duchess of Sussex are understood to have landed back in the UK with their children, Archie and Lilibet, for what is being described as an extended stay in the country. Harry and Meghan are believed to have flown in privately to Birmingham from California, 6 years on from stepping back from royal duties and moving to America. It's thought the family will base themselves outside of London, with the children due to start school next week. The Sussexes have not been in the UK together since Queen Elizabeth's funeral in 2022. At this stage, it remains unclear what security arrangements will be made for their return. Next to news in Nepal, where 12 British citizens are among hundreds of travellers missing after flash floods have swept through the region on the border with Tibet. Nepal's tourism board says more than 380 travellers are still missing, including at least 290 foreign tourists. At least 22 bodies have already been recovered, while some local media reports suggest that major casualties are across the border in Tibet. Video from the region shows a bridge being swept away and multi-storey buildings collapsed by the force of the floodwaters. It's believed the floods may have been triggered by an earthquake causing an avalanche. Here, households are facing higher energy bills this winter after Ofgem raised its price cap by 4% to a 3-year high. From October, the average annual bill will rise by £60 to £1,723. That is just as families start using more heating. Ofgem says higher international gas prices are still driving energy costs in the UK. But the government says its cut to VAT on electricity has limited the rise, but analysts are already forecasting another increase in the months ahead. A former police chief, 3 officers and a staff member are being investigated for gross misconduct over a ban on Maccabi Tel Aviv fans attending a match at Villa Park. The police watchdog says the probe is looking at Craig Guilford's role in the decision while he was West Midlands Police Chief Constable. The ban stopped supporters from the Israeli club attending the game in Birmingham. The watchdog's investigation is still ongoing, and at this stage, no findings have been made. At least 14 newborn babies have sadly died after a fire broke out in a hospital in Pakistan. Officials say the blaze started in an air conditioning unit at a hospital in Islamabad before spreading through the maternity ward. One baby was rescued, where 15 newborns were being cared for at the time. Pakistan's Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif has ordered an immediate inquiry, with a report due within 24 hours. And as we've been reporting today, Dolly Parton is being remembered as a once-in-a-lifetime star after her death at the age of 80, following what her publicist described as a brief battle with cancer. The country music star was best known for hits including Jolene, 9 to 5 and I Will Always Love You. Tributes have been pouring in around the world, with Paul McCartney among them, calling her magnificent. Landmarks across America have been lit up in pink in her honour as fans remembered not just her music, but her philanthropy too. Those are the latest headlines for now. More news shortly. Now, though, let's get back to Mark and Emily.
Take the GB News family with you on any device. As long as you have an internet connection, tune into GB News anywhere on the planet or beyond.
OK, we start with this hour with a warning that some viewers may find the following footage distressing. A total of 22 bodies have been recovered after torrential rain and flooding in the Himalayan border areas of Nepal and Tibet. That's according to the police official there.
Yeah, 12 British citizens are among hundreds of travellers who are now missing after these horrific flash floods swept through that region of Nepal.
Well, the tourism board in Nepal says more than 380 travellers are missing, including at least 290 foreign tourists.
At least 22 bodies have already been recovered, while some local media reports suggest major casualties are also being reported across the border in Tibet.
It's believed the floods may have been triggered by an earthquake causing an avalanche. We'll bring you more detail on this and keep you up to date throughout the show, but shocking scenes there from the Nepal-Tibet border, bridges, buildings being destroyed.
Yeah, I mean, the fact is it's one of these areas of the world renowned for its natural beauty, the high mountains, and it attracts many, many tourists, 700,000 visitors a year to the Himalayas around that area of Nepal and Tibet in particular, and many of those, of course, British nationals. So there could well be a very significant death toll involving foreign nationals, but also those people who live in the valley areas downstream of those rivers that have clearly, and banks of ice and rock that have broken their banks. It's reported perhaps because of an earthquake that may have triggered that.
OK, well, we're going to return to the breaking news. That it is now being reported the Duke and Duchess of Sussex and their children have returned to Britain today.
Yeah, Prince Harry, Meghan and their two children are believed to have flown into Birmingham Airport on a private aircraft.
They have indeed. We're joined in the studio by GBNews royal correspondent Cameron Walker. Cameron, what do we know then about this journey?
Yeah, well, it's been widely reported now that the Duke and Duchess of Sussex have arrived back in the UK via Birmingham Airport. Prince Harry's official spokesperson not commenting due to security and privacy reasons. However, he is not denying that they have landed in the UK. Now, GB News producers outside have been very busy in the last few hours, and we believe we've managed to track down the aircraft in question, which picture was first put on the Telegraph website. So if this is the correct jet, and we have reasons to believe it is the correct jet, Bombardier Global Express twin jet, private jet, for anyone who wants to know that. It took off from a local airport just north of Los Angeles at 6 o'clock local time last night. That's about 2 in the morning our time, and landed just before midday into Birmingham at 11:56 British summer time. So that is the jet in question. About 12 hours of flight time in the air. Now we spoke about the last hour, didn't we? Well, why on earth have they chosen to fly in a private jet, particularly when Prince Harry launched a sustainable travel company back in 2019, have been preaching to us about how important it is to travel sustainably. OK, on the one hand, it's a gas-guzzling private jet. On the other hand, he is a very high-profile individual. Clearly, a huge media storm has been created due to the reversal, essentially, of Megxit, at least temporarily, at the very least. So therefore, he probably fought for him and his family, with the advice of his private security team, that it was probably best to travel in a private jet and try and land in the UK as subtly as possible. Unfortunately for him, both the BBC and the Telegraph had sources who leaked.
Cameron, there are lots of very high-profile people, some people who might even be at risk, who find that they can travel by scheduled air routes on scheduled aircraft, in first, maybe. So others might argue then that far from it just being a safety issue, that Prince Harry is a bit of a hypocrite.
We have seen very high-profile members of the royal family travel commercially. Prince William travels regularly via commercial aircraft, particularly when he does go for his Earthshot prize around the world. He always travels commercially for that one. He is known to sometimes travel in a private jet. I'm not saying that Prince William and the Princess of Wales never travel in private jets, but it's not very frequent. The King, as head of state, would not be expected to travel commercially. He has aircraft of the King's flights. He also has helicopters to get to various engagements. If you want the King in various locations around the country quickly and efficiently, helicopter is the best way and arguably far more cost-effective than what used to happen, which was the royal train. Nonetheless, to your point, Mark, yes, high-profile members of the royal family and government officials do fly commercially. Harry would probably say, well, they also have private Metropolitan Police bodyguards, which he is not entitled to. So I'm sure that's what he would probably say to that.
So what will they be doing now? So they arrived at about midday. It's now 2:12. They probably, you know, got all their luggage in a vehicle, heading over to the Cotswolds, probably. They'll be looking to settle into their new digs and perhaps see a friend or two, get the children ready for school.
Yes, not Ellen DeGeneres, because we believe she's perhaps left the neighbourhood of the Cotswolds. We don't actually know that it's the Cotswolds. It's just we're all kind of second-guessing that that's probably a likely scenario, given the fact that they used to own a house there, very close to Soho Farmhouse, where Meghan had her hen do, but also, perhaps more crucially, where The Gentleman is filmed, that Netflix show, which we know she's in talks to join season 3. Netflix just confirms that season 3 is very much happening. That is filmed in the Cotswolds too, but it could be, frankly, anywhere in the country. We know it's not going to be in London. That's the only place we know for sure it's not going to be. Harry, meanwhile, of course, is preparing for a load of charity engagements in a couple of weeks' time. And the children, as you said, Emily, have been enrolled in a British school. We believe it's a private day school, so they'll be shopping for uniform. Of course, they will be going back next week. So the children have about a week to get over the jet lag and get themselves settled in their new home before the new term starts.
It's quite a change.
Yes, their 2 dogs, we believe, have come with them, but the chickens have stayed in California.
Oh, yes, I read that the chickens have stayed over in
and they've not been
California.
made into nuggets, so they're very much staying. No, they're staying in the chicken coop in Montecito.
The caretaker or whatever will look after them, I suppose.
Yes.
It's going to be such an upheaval for those children, isn't it? And for Meghan, of course.
It will be, but I guess it makes sense that they're arriving now, Cameron, given that school term starts again next week, is that right?
Yeah, absolutely. They're not going to suddenly fly in and immediately start school, so it gives them time to adjust. And also, Prince Archie's 7, Princess Lilibet's 5. I think, realistically, now, if they're going to do that big move, now is the time to do so. I think they can adapt to these young children. I think if you were trying to take them out of school aged 15, it might be a different story.
Yes, they might refuse or try and refuse anyway. Cameron Walker, thank you very much indeed. GB News royal correspondent. Little tiny children are very resilient, aren't they?
Well, indeed. Moving on now, the government has been accused of covering up the true extent of crimes committed by foreigners in the UK.
A group of families of some of the victims of crimes committed by foreign national offenders have written to the Justice Secretary urging him to stop blocking the release of migrant crime data.
Well, among those who've written the letter is the family of hotel worker Rhiannon White, who was murdered by an asylum seeker in the West Midlands.
Deng Chol Majek from South Sudan stalked and then stabbed Rhiannon to death at a railway station in Walsall in 2024.
Others include the 14-year-old girl who was sexually assaulted by Ethiopian illegal immigrant Hadish Kabatu, who was staying at an asylum seeker hotel in the Essex town of Epping.
And the partner of dog walker Wayne Broadhurst, who was stabbed to death on a residential street in West London.
Afghan national Dawood Safi, who arrived illegally into Britain in the back of a lorry, was convicted of Mr Broadhurst's killing just last month.
Those are some of the victims of crimes committed by migrants in recent years. In the last 12 months alone, there are many other examples, and this is by no means an exhaustive list.
This is the Sudanese asylum seeker, Ibrahim al-Bashir. He's the latest horrific case to emerge. He was convicted yesterday of attacking a lone woman in Leeds, stabbing her and slashing her more than 30 times with a broken bottle in a case which the judge said was sexually motivated.
Afghan national Abdul Khan was convicted earlier this month for raping a 13-year-old girl in Nottinghamshire after making contact on social media pretending to be a teenage boy. He'd arrived in the UK in the back of a lorry.
3 asylum seekers were convicted last month of raping a woman in Brighton Beach. Ethiopian national Ibrahim al-Shafi and Iranian Abdullah Ahmadi were given lengthy jail terms, while another, Karine al-Dan-Nassert, also from Egypt, was convicted for his part in the rape and also filming the woman's horrific ordeal.
Syrian national Mohammed Abdullah, who came to Britain under a family reunion scheme, was convicted of raping a young woman in a toilet on Bournemouth Beach.
An Afghan national, Ahmad Mulakil, who was sentenced to 16 years in prison in March for abducting and raping a 12-year-old girl in the Warwickshire town of Nuneaton.
Afghan Abdul Nabizada, a former translator for the British Army, was sentenced to 7 years in prison after attacking a 19-year-old taxi passenger after detaining her against her will.
Well, listen, a lot of cases there, but this is by no means an exhaustive list. It is just a snapshot of what is becoming, it seems, a growing number of serious crimes linked to foreign nationals, many of whom arrived illegally into this country.
So does the public and victims of these crimes deserve to know the true extent of criminality linked to foreign nationals? And why is the government so determined not to share that information with the wider public?
Well, our chief political correspondent, Catherine Foster, joins us in the studio. Why are the government doing this? I mean, the optics of it look absolutely terrible. It does just look like they don't want to go there.
It does, because if you don't give the information that people are calling for, the question then arises, what inconvenient information are you trying to hide? So this has been an ongoing battle to get this information, and the latest part of it is these victims' families writing to the current Justice Secretary, Alex Norris, demanding that this information is put out. Now, already freedom of information requests were denied on the grounds of costs and potential privacy issues. The Information Commissioner batted that away and said, absolutely not, publish this information to the government. But now we understand that David Lammy, who was Justice Secretary until a few weeks ago, is taking legal action. The government is taking legal action to stop this information being published. And opposition parties, understandably, are saying that this is a cover-up. And, of course, it comes only a week after that astonishing booklet that was published by the Home Office setting out expectations and rules for asylum seekers to abide by. But fundamentally, the message of don't rape women and you can't have sex with anybody under 16. And I think, yes, of course, most crime is committed by British people and probably by white people, but they are in still a big majority. But there is great concern that there's a lot of men coming from countries with a different attitude towards women coming into this country. We saw the most recent case, the Sudanese asylum seeker who'd been denied asylum in France, mental health issues, who slashed a woman 30 times with a broken bottle. So I think it is entirely understandable that families and many other people who are concerned think that it is right and proper that the government give over this information. If there's nothing to see here, then there's nothing to see here. But until we can see that data, how do we know?
Yeah, and so many of these men who are coming over on boats, for example, are coming from extremely dangerous countries where crime is just a fact of daily life, where sexual offences are rife. And you still have so many people on the left who will, I don't know if it's cultural relativism or just a state of denial, or don't want to admit that parts of our mass immigration have been a mistake because then they have to admit that they were wrong. I don't know what it's about, but they will continue to deny that there may be a heightened risk of men coming from these types of countries, say Afghanistan, say Eritrea, wherever else, that there may be a heightened risk. It's almost like they are so scared of the reality that they would just rather we didn't see it.
Yes, and remember what happened in Germany, was it Christmas, New Year, 2015, 2016, where they'd taken hundreds of thousands of migrants. There were a whole series of sexual assaults in cities like Cologne. Yeah. It received very, very little coverage in the media. The Ministry of Justice has put out some information, it's worth saying.
Did one Labour MP say it was just the same as a night out in Birmingham?
That was Jess Phillips.
Yes.
Who is, works very passionately on issues to do with violence against women and girls. But violence against women and girls is something that the government has pledged to halve, and yet seems to be very uncomfortable describing these attacks. And, their defence for putting out that brochure was, we must make absolutely clear what's expected so there's misunderstanding. But I think a lot of Brits will say, if you have to tell these people that female genital mutilation is not allowed, the age of consent, that you can't rape women, etc., why are we allowing these people into the country in the first place?
OK, Catherine Forster, thank you very much.
Very good question. A Ministry of Justice spokesperson has denied any form of cover-up, saying protecting the public is our priority, and we are committed to supporting victims of all crimes, including through our record £550 million funding package for victim support services. We do not comment on live legal proceedings.
Well, coming up to 23 minutes past 2, this is Good Afternoon Britain on GB News. Lots more coming up on today's show.
As the CIA director flies to Moscow for secretive talks, Andy Burnham has been warned that Britain faces Russian retaliation over UK support for Ukraine. Security chiefs have told the Prime Minister to be prepared for a direct response from Vladimir Putin. What could that mean?
But after the break, millions of British households will face the highest energy charges in 3 years this winter, as the energy price is raised for a second time in 3 months.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christie's Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience, because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions, but every Friday night at 9 p.m. you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christie's Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
5 hosts, 5 opinions, 5 fearless debates, 5 unfiltered takes on the day's news.
5 reasons not to be anywhere else on Saturday night.
This is the Saturday 5. You got me. You got me good there. Britain's biggest Saturday night TV show.
It's not a bad brand.
Yeah. Uncensored.
Very, very racy tonight on the...
unpredictable.
What did she say? Can you translate it for us?
And always entertaining.
And how can a country go from being led by William Wallace Saturday nights from 6 p.m. only on GB News, the People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
You're going to want to stay tuned, trust me.
Breaking news, live updates, stories that matter.
From the heart of the GB newsroom to every corner of Britain, with our team of dedicated journalists across the UK.
GB News bulletins are there to deliver the latest news that matters to you.
Bulletins on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Your views.
Just to be clear, my viewers are frustrated.
Your voice.
Lots of you guys getting in touch.
Your perspective.
Before these two will start fisticuffs.
Your issues.
What is the official party line?
Your concerns.
Do you agree with that?
Your show.
you keeping up? Good.
I'm so excited to be back this Tuesday at 6 p.m. Jubes & Co. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
So the Jubester back on Tuesday. We can't wait.
The Jubester back in her seat at 6 o'clock. Anyway, in other news, energy bills are set to rise to a 3-year high this autumn, with Ofgem increasing its price cap yet again by 4%.
Well, the Prime Minister says the increase will be difficult for households, but insists removing VAT from electricity bills will offer some relief.
It's difficult for people, and I recognise that, but it's why within days of taking office I announced that we would remove VAT off electricity bills to give people that little bit of help. That kicks in from October. We know the price cap will have an impact, but it is what we can do right now, and we'll continue to look as we go forward at how we get energy prices down in the long term, and that's what we need to do too.
OK, well, the average annual bill is going to rise by £60 to £1,723 from October. And we're also expecting a further increase in January. So we're joined by the founder of theenergyshop.com, Joe Malinowski. Now, Joe, do you work to help, does the Energy Shop work to help people get cheaper deals? Is that what you do?
That's exactly what it is. We are an online digital platform, marketplace, essentially, where we pull together all the tariffs in the marketplace, so consumers can have a completely transparent view of how their product compares with every other offer. And then if you find something you like, we will happily facilitate the switch for you. It's all done online. The process only takes a couple of minutes. And because we now have faster switching, you can actually be on a new tariff within 3 or 4 days. So it's all very, very quick. It's all seamless. And it very rarely goes wrong.
Have you ever had do you have a bit of an uptick every time there's a price cap increase of people coming to your website?
Yes, we do, but we don't. What's not happening like we used to see, because now that we've got so many different rules, the comparisons this time around have become just a little bit trickier. So, for example, as you correctly mentioned, we are looking at a £60 increase. But there's also a VAT change on top of that. There's been a usage profile change that's happened recently. So absent the VAT changes, this increase would have been £45. So what you're seeing on our comparison sites at the moment is tariffs that include VAT, but because we have to show it including VAT, that's what you pay right now. The VAT is then going to drop off. And as you mentioned, we are expecting another big increase come January. Now, the main forecast that Cornwall Insight is suggesting that we are looking at possibly a 10% increase. So we're going to take the bill from, what, £1,663 now, £1,723 in October, up to a whopping £1,880 come January. And what you need to do is actually not compare you have to be able to do a like-for-like comparison, you have to be able to strip out the VAT component against the VAT component as it's going to be. Because if you're on any tariff, even on a fixed tariff, you're going to see the reduction in your VAT. Now, put that into context. When you look at our site now, you're going to see a saving of about £110. But once you start stripping out the VAT, you're going to add another £45 to that. The real saving is about £150. Add in the big increase, and actually, compared to where you're going to be in January, the savings you can pick up off today's tariffs are going to be something in excess of £300 cheaper. And I think the sooner you act on these changes, given where we think energy bills are going, where the industry analysts predominantly think energy bills are going, the sooner you can do it, the better. Because once you start looking at £300 energy bill savings, that's when it starts to get substantial. And they may not be there when all these comparisons wash out and you get a proper like-for-like comparison.
Let's just flip that around, though, Joe, because the counter to this is that, you know, if you're making £300 savings, what on earth is the bill in the first place? And there will be those that just cannot afford to pay their bills as we go into the winter.
The saving is the potential saving once the energy price cap kicks in. The energy price cap is a methodical formula that takes into consideration historical and future expected costs. And as you move through time, you can actually predict that with greater certainty. And those consumers actually can't afford to pay the bill. So I would urge those who have the facility, and you know the vast majority of people do. I think one of the big tragedies we have in the market post the energy crisis and some of the government interventions we have had is people have started to rely more on government to do things for them instead of doing things for themselves. So whereas we used to have the majority of consumers would be switched onto fixed tariffs, we now have the majority on these standard default tariffs, expecting governments to do something for them. And as you know, governments can intervene, and we saw Andy Burnham clip is intervening to help. But governments don't actually produce revenue, right? They eat your income through tax. And when it comes to energy bills, virtually everybody has an energy bill. Everybody has an electricity one. And virtually everybody is also an income tax payer. So what you're essentially doing in this process is if you're giving something away on the energy bill and funding it through taxation, you're not just robbing Peter to pay Paul, you're actually robbing Peter to pay Peter back with his own money. And
in many cases, people just feel more reliant on the state, I suppose. Joe Malinowski, thank you very much indeed. We're going to have to leave it there, but appreciate you coming on, founder of the EnergyShop.com. I mean, those energy bills, they're just going up and up and up, and the Energy Secretary today admitting that at least in part net zero is the reason why bills are continuing to rise. Add on to that, of course, all the geopolitical stuff that's going on with the Iran war and Middle East conflict.
Which is, still far from settled. So, that volatility in the market will continue to feed through to household bills, sadly.
Well, it's time for our new Great British Giveaway now. It's the biggest of the year so far. A 4-berth motorhome worth £75,000 and £35,000 in tax. Could be yours. Here's Hayley Sparks.
It's the biggest, greatest Great British giveaway of the year so far. It's your chance to win a whopping £110,000 prize package that comes in 2 terrific parts. You'll be able to explore Great Britain and beyond in this, your very own motorhome. Courtesy of Marquis Leisure, this brand new McClure Fusion could be yours. It comfortably sleeps 4 with spacious lounge area for entertaining and fully fitted kitchen and bathroom. Plus, you can drive it on your standard driving licence. We'll also boost your bank account too with a further £35,000 in tax-free cash to spend however you like. Make sure you don't miss out on this £110,000 prize package.
For a chance to win a motorhome and cash, text prize to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB23 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrants must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 23rd of October. We may call the winner live after all entry routes have closed. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Yeah, good luck with that. Now, coming up on the programme, shocking figures show a burglary goes unsolved every 3 minutes in England and Wales, with the police failing to identify a single suspect in more than 7 out of 10 cases.
Good morning, welcome to your latest GB News weather update brought to you from the Met Office. A thundery day today. We do have warnings in force through today and tomorrow for parts of England and Wales. That's where we see intense rainfall falling in a short period of time. There is a chance of some surface water flooding. That's all being brought about by low pressure down to the south of the UK, throwing up this wet air, but also more humid air. So wherever you are going to notice the humidity and warmth through today. It's England and Wales, though, where we've got the greatest chance of heavy downpours throughout today, particularly for more central areas of England and North Wales into this evening, where the showers may linger for a time. There will be some brightness into the afternoon, a bit more than we've had this morning, and it will feel warm in the sunshine, particularly across more southern areas where temperatures could climb to 29 degrees. It's going to be a pretty dry day for much of Scotland, though, as we're further north from this area of low pressure. So for the far north of Scotland, it's a fine end to the day. Temperatures around 18 or 19 degrees. Northeastern England as well, getting away away with quite a lot of dry weather. A bit more of an easterly wind here though, so it will feel a little bit fresher at the coast. But as you can see, it's parts of North Wales, central England in particular, where there's the greatest chance of heavy downpours. That brings the risk of lightning as well as hail and some surface water flooding throughout this evening. Now there's a bit of respite to come overnight tonight before the next batch of rain pushes up by Thursday morning. So for many of us, it's going to be a dry and humid night. For wherever you are going to notice the humidity overnight. Temperatures holding up in the high teens. We could see some mist and fog developing as well rurally by Thursday morning. But the rain does return through Thursday morning for England and Wales. There's another warning in forceful thunderstorms, again for that chance of surface water flooding as well as lightning and some quite large hail through the afternoon. The rain may last quite a while as it pushes into North Wales, central England through Thursday, and we could see some quite gusty winds. But again, it's looking like another dry day further north. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Britain, for the thousands of you who are becoming friends of GB News each and every week.
Good afternoon, this is the latest AI travel news from GBnews.com. The M6 northbound is affected by a collision between junctions 21 and 21A near Warrington Central. The M1 northbound has an obstruction between junctions 23A and 24 near Loughborough. The M1 northbound has a lane closure between junctions 16 and 17 in Daventry. Across Wales, the A458 at Buttington is affected by a collision. And on the trains, Grand Central and Great Northern services are facing major disruption between London and Stevenage. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
OK, good afternoon, Britain. It's 2:38 now. A burglary is going unsolved every 3 minutes across England and Wales.
Yeah, new analysis of Home Office figures shows just 6% of burglaries last year resulted in a charge, with no suspect identified in more than 7 in 10 cases.
The government says residential burglary has fallen by 7% since that, and police reforms will put more focus on neighbourhood crime.
Well, Kevin Hurley, a former senior police officer with the Metropolitan Police and the City of London Police, joins us now. Kevin, it wasn't like that in your day. You were out there investigating all the burglaries, weren't you?
You're quite right. I did it both as a detective constable in southwest London, the borough of Lambeth, and I was, in fact, head of volume crime for the whole Metropolitan Police. So I oversaw the strategy and tactics adopted across all 32 boroughs. The problem, Mark, is simple. That with the churn in police numbers as they now are, the speed at which some people move to very senior rank, and the failure, I think, on the part of chief officers to address what's important, the skill sets have gone. The basic techniques that we followed didn't happen. So what doesn't happen now, and used to, is police officers and a crime scene investigator, and later on a detective, would go to every burglary. If an officer goes to a burglary these days, say a uniformed one, they think in their mind they're there to report. They need to have the mindset they're there to investigate, which means do some house-to-house inquiries, actually look for some forensic opportunities. What then would happen on a borough is that you would normally have a dedicated 8 or 10 person burglary squad whose sole job was catching the local burglars. And on a daily basis, one of them would go out in the crime scene van with the crime scene investigator. They once called them scenes of crime officers, and they would go to every crime scene. So at that level, the basics of forensics and clues were not lost. But if you then go up to the false level, there's a very small number of burglars who are the most prolific, who do a substantial number of burglaries. And I actually only learnt this towards the end of my career when I was at Scotland Yard, when someone far cleverer than me, one of my chief inspectors, said, "We've identified this person X is wanted in 16 places across London and surrounding boroughs." Anyway, the net result of this was we managed to put together an operation on this one guy who eventually admitted to over 3,000 offences.
Wow.
That kind of strategic level intervention at high-end targets isn't dealt with. So let me look at another form of burglary that's a real trouble for our older people. It's known as distraction burglary, where people will turn up and knock on their door and say, "Oh, madam, I'm from the water board," or "My kid's ball's gone in your garden, can I come in?" And they bluff their way into the house whilst their friend then runs upstairs and steals all the family heirlooms. These people move quite quickly. They travel across the country. In fact, quite a lot of them are from the travelling community. The actual intelligence systems that were once in place to monitor them have long since been scrapped. And indeed, when I was fairly senior at the top, I had to argue with people running the Force Intelligence Bureau to say, we need to keep this activity against distraction burglars going on. So that kind of stuff is lost. Another example is, so these people who go across country, across boroughs, across areas burgling, quite often the old lady will ring police and say, "This person's bluffed my way in."
Yeah.
It's quite certain that that burglar and his mate are not just doing that one offence, they're doing more. The opportunity to catch them is within the next 20 minutes to a couple of hours, which means a supervisor, like a sergeant or inspector, should then oversee a hue and cry and spread the word out around surrounding boroughs saying, "We saw a blue van nearby, someone in a red shirt." And in that way, you will catch them.
Yeah,
That's right to describe a burglary.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Kevin, some of these statistics are just absolutely shocking. That you have 223,000 burglaries recorded in 1 year, and just 13,000 actually result in a charge. Kevin Hurley, thank you. We have to leave it there, but thank you very much for your time. Former head of burglary investigations at the Metropolitan Police. There. I mean, it does make you think: why even bother contacting the police with a rate that bad?
Well, certainly there is a lot of loss of confidence that we've seen there from the public in the response they get from police forces on issues around burglary, phone theft, car theft, and the like. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, this is Good Afternoon Britain on GB News. The CIA director flies to Moscow for secret talks. Andy Burnham has been warned that Britain faces Russian retaliation over our support for Ukraine. It's also reported security chiefs have told the Prime Minister to be prepared for a direct response from Vladimir Putin.
Ready to soak up that holiday sunshine?
Won't we need some cover?
No worries. All sorted.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Hi there. It's hot across central parts of Europe, especially across Italy next few days. Meanwhile, thundery downpours will affect large parts of France as well as central areas. And we've got some showery rain pushing through the Canary Islands, but the more unsettled weather will move into Portugal and Spain during Thursday and Friday. Heavy rain, strong winds, as thunderstorms across France and Germany continue. And it's going to be very unsettled through central and western parts of Europe as we go into the weekend.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
GB News Breakfast, every day from 6 a.m.
A tetraplegic veteran is embarking on a 79-mile journey in an off-road wheelchair to prove that life can still be extraordinary.
Yes, Danny Mayer, who served in the Royal Scots Dragoon Guards in Iraq, was paralysed from the neck down after a motorcycle accident 6 years ago.
Well, the 41-year-old Glaswegian is now preparing to travel the Great Glen Way in Scotland, of course.
Feeling nervous now, being just a month from it. Stand by my idiotic phrase. Definitely that's starting to approach me a little bit more. Hopefully a little bit more inspiring by the end of the journey, but I'm feeling like, you know, as most people do when they take on a challenge, or at least something that's out of their reach, maybe a little chaotic.
GB News, the People's Channel. GB News Breakfast, every day from 6 a.m.
There's also a big issue with pigeons in Norwich, but the Greens are not allowing them to be culled. They're supported by a group called Peck Savers, which I think is rather good. And somebody turned up at a council meeting dressed as a pigeon. And you just think, wait a minute, you know, the world's on fire, there are various wars around the place, and they're obsessing about how to deal with pigeons. It does seem quite bizarre, their priorities. But they have proposed pigeon contraception. What? I would like to see that in action. Yeah. I would like to see somebody try and... this is a family show, but I cannot understand how that would happen. But it does seem to me that their priorities are completely upside down.
If that's what some Green councillors have advocated.
GB News, the People's Channel. Sunday with Michael Portillo from 11, only on GB News.
Royal Navy was the most powerful navy in the world at that time. That was really the bigger ships, the sort of capital ships they're called. When it came to small ships, we really weren't. And especially minesweepers, there was something like 30 sweepers to protect 20,000 miles of coastline. So Churchill, as First Lord of the Admiralty, realised quickly something needed to be done, and he mobilised what became known as the Royal Naval Patrol Service, rather a dry name. But he requisitioned 200 trawlers, deep-sea trawlers from Grimsby, Hull, all those big sort of fishing ports, and their crews. And they were fish holes were turned into mess decks. Fishing nets were removed, replaced by sweeping gear.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Welcome back. Now, the Prime Minister has been warned that Britain faces Russian retaliation over its continued support for Ukraine in its fight against Kremlin forces.
Security experts have told Andy Burnham, fresh from a visit to Ukraine, to be prepared for a direct response from Vladimir Putin.
Well, this comes as the director of the CIA, John Radcliffe, made a surprise visit to Moscow this week for secret talks.
Well, we can now speak with GB News presenter Tom Harwood, who is live from Washington, D.C. for us. Tom, thank you very much indeed. So what do we know about this secretive trip, then?
Well, it's quite fascinating because the CIA itself, being a relatively secretive organisation, is not telling us much. But what became known was that a US transport plane was seen in Moscow yesterday. And then a US convoy, a diplomatic convoy, was seen as well. Eventually, it was worked out that John Ratcliffe, the director of the CIA, made the first visit of a CIA director to Russia since before the full-scale invasion of Ukraine. This sparked a huge amount of speculation as to what exactly might be going on. Why might the CIA director be there? Well, one of the suggestions that comes from the Wall Street Journal is that US intelligence has picked up that Russia is engaging in early preparations for a possible military mobilization in Ukraine, in their words, and testing the resolve of NATO. That's according to the Wall Street Journal. Now, we don't know in what form that testing the resolve of NATO may come about in, but that could feed into that other story that you introduced there, of Andy Burnham being warned that Russia wants to perhaps perform something against this country, or indeed countries that we are aligned to. It does seem like it is a testing moment, and we don't have anything official out of this visit.
Interestingly, the Reuters news agency reporting that Donald Trump has apparently told Glenn Beck in an interview, the right-wing commentator in the US, Glenn Beck, that something may come out of CIA Director John Radcliffe's visit. As usual, quite cryptic, so I'm not sure what we can discern from that, if anything, Tom.
No, a lot of people were saying that this is a positive sign because this could mean some sort of diplomacy, some sort of breakthrough, jaw rather than war. But there have been others who suggest that this is because the United States have seen something concerning from the Russian side. Frankly, we're all shooting in the dark here. I mean, it could be both. It could be that the United States has caught the Russians trying to do something surreptitiously and are nipping it in the bud initially with some further diplomacy. We just don't know. What we do know is that something is going on. And something else, Mark, that was very interesting last night is something called the Pentagon Pizza Tracker was flashing red. And that's when the pizza places around the Pentagon have unusually high activity late into the night. It usually indicates that people are staying at their desks longer than they otherwise would be. And that's in public available data. So perhaps something is going on behind the scenes. But yeah, as you say, very cryptic at this stage.
Pizza into the office.
Yeah, no, I think that's actually the most worrying indication of all. The thought that they're all there beavering away, perhaps down into the bunker. So yeah, you're right. I think something is definitely afoot. Can we ask you as well about this breaking development just within the last half hour about this huge settlement now apparently from Facebook's owner Meta?
Yeah, this was an enormous case that was involving more than half of all states in the United States, taking Meta to court for what they said was a $200 billion lawsuit to try and get Meta to admit that its products were unsafe for children, addictive for children even. Well, today, abruptly, this morning in the United States, just moments ago, Meta has abruptly settled this case. They say that they would be willing to pay up to $17 billion, but it's not just about the money here. It's also about profound changes that will come to Meta's products, particularly Facebook and Instagram. For teenagers, there will now be, Meta is saying, time limits, only 2 hours a day total for teenagers using those products. But more than that, there'll be sort of cut-off points over the night. Between midnight and 6 a.m, these products will be inaccessible for teenagers worldwide. It does seem like big changes are coming as a result of this lawsuit. And interestingly, this settlement comes just before Mark Zuckerberg was due to testify.
And Tom, I think we need a comment on another breaking news story this afternoon. You have turned 30 years old today.
Happy birthday, Tom.
Oh, don't remind me.
Happy birthday!
Is that a grey hair I can see?
Oh, yeah, I can
just
see it.
Popping out there.
I'll pluck that one out when you come home.
Oh.
How are you celebrating?
Look, Emily, I'm pretending I haven't turned 30 because, of course, this was a sort of surprise work trip for me. I didn't really realise that I'd be out here over the course of my birthday. It was a last-minute thing. So whilst I'm doing some drinks with some mates in DC this evening, I'll have to do something properly when I'm back in London.
Fantastic stuff. Happy birthday from us to you. See you very soon, Tom. Tom Harwood, the GB News presenter. That's it from us.
Martin Dobney is coming up next.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Good morning, welcome to your latest GB News weather update brought to you from the Met Office. A thundery day today. We do have warnings in force through today and tomorrow for parts of England and Wales. That's where we see intense rainfall falling in a short period of time. There is a chance of some surface water flooding. That's all been brought about by low pressure down to the south of the UK, throwing up this wet air, but also more humid air. So wherever you are going to notice the humidity and warmth through today. It's England and Wales, though, where we've got the greatest chance of heavy downpours throughout today, particularly for more central areas of England and North Wales into this evening, where the showers may linger for a time. There will be some brightness into the afternoon, a bit more than we've had this morning, and it will feel warm in the sunshine, particularly across more southern areas where temperatures could climb to 29 degrees. It's going to be a pretty dry day for much of Scotland, though, as we're further north from this area of low pressure. So for the far north of Scotland, it's a fine end to the day. Temperatures around 18 or 19 degrees. Northeastern England as well, getting away with quite a lot of dry weather. A bit more of an easterly wind here, though, so it will feel a little bit fresher at the coast. But as you can see, it's parts of North Wales, central England in particular, where there's the greatest chance of heavy downpours. That brings the risk of lightning as well as hail and some surface water flooding throughout this evening. Now, there's a bit of respite to come overnight tonight before the next batch of rain pushes up by Thursday morning. So for many of us, it's going to be a dry and humid night. For wherever you are going to notice the humidity overnight. Temperatures holding up in the high teens. We could see some mist and fog developing as well, rurally by Thursday morning. But the rain does return through Thursday morning for England and Wales. There's another warning in forceful thunderstorms, again for that chance of surface water flooding as well as lightning and some quite large hail through the afternoon. The rain may last quite a while as it pushes into North Wales, central England through Thursday, and we could see some quite gusty winds. But again, it's looking like another dry day further north. Bye-bye.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Boxed Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
It's brand new and it's the big one. Courtesy